out. When you're born into a fire, let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose.
What's up, Internet? How was your weekend? I am Aries Van Dam, Gen X Genius, Salt and Pepper Savant, Shaman of Logic. You see it all. I would introduce my co-host, but it's about to rain, and he hides in the bathroom when it rains. So maybe he'll join us later, but he is on assignment, I guess. Do have some news. Let me turn the music down a little more. I have some big news. So, I have a debate on Sunday. I'm going to be filming it, editing it, and then it'll be up sometime next week. Matt Van of the Matt Van Show has kindly agreed to a debate. If you saw my videos last week, you know I was kind of a dick to him. But I want to give him some credit here. Even though I was being a dick, because I thought he had deleted my comment, he claims he did not delete it. And I don't have any evidence that he did. All I know is I posted it and it disappeared. But we are on YouTube, and I have too many comments disappearing. I get 6 or 7 a week where I go to click on a comment to check it out, and it's just not there. So YouTube does do that, so I'm going to give him a little grace here and apologize if he did not do that. I apologize if you didn't. So, but he is showing that he is going to stand up for his ideas, so I give him credit. He's being a man. He wants to do the debate. We're going to have a friendly debate, and like I said, we're going to do it in conjunction. It's not just going to be me debating him. It's going to be a debate by me and the Matt Van Show, and we'll release them same day. So once the editing's all done and stuff, I don't do editing, so I'm just going to send it to him, and when he's done, he'll let me know, and we'll upload them. Yeah, that's about it. That's it for news. I had a good weekend. How was y'all's weekend? I had 2 really good workouts and 2 really bad Tinder dates, so it was a good weekend, I guess. Let's get into the first video. The first one we're going to do... Ooh, get that off. The first one we're going to do is Dave Smith versus Elica Lebon 2. This one's about 3 months old, but it is a rematch from when he just decimated her, when they had a straight-up interview. They're on a panel this time, and Cenk Uygur's there, too. And the second video is going to be a Cenk Uygur video, too. It's Josh Hammer, though. And I only watched a couple of minutes of this one. I try not to watch these because it kind of disturbs my process. If I'm already, I feel like I've already said that whenever I'm trying to watch one that I've already watched before. So I try to watch these fresh so that I don't ruin all the good things I want to say when I'm watching it the first time. So that's going to look like a good one, though. Look like a good one. I hate Josh Hammer, so we're going to have fun on that one. And then I've got an interview that Jillian Michaels did with someone called Stella News. Watch a couple of minutes of that one, too. So let's get into the first debate. Turn that off. Why is it not playing?
Turning now to my panel is the founder and CEO of the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, the Iranian-American attorney and activist Elica Lebon, and former Canadian lawmaker and Iran activist Goldie Gamari. And Dave Smith will be joining us shortly. So welcome to all of you. Elica Lebon, it looks increasingly... Well, welcome back to Uncensored, first of all.
Thanks so much. Take care.
Just in terms of where we are with this, the scale of the build-up of the military on the United States side suggests that a military strike is almost inevitable. Is that a good thing?
Yes, it is absolutely a good thing. We have a regime who we've just witnessed committing an unprecedented massacre, one of the worst atrocities in modern times. And there really is no way for this regime to go down by just simply relying on the Iran.
You would think she's talking about Israel, wouldn't you? She's not. She's not. She's talking about Iran whenever they killed the people that were trying to overtake the country. What would we do to them if they tried to overtake our country?
People, they do not have weapons. They do not have any means to take this regime out. The idea that the Iranian people should free themselves is as absurd as saying a person who is kidnapped and held hostage in somebody's basement without any weapons should free themselves. And so there really is no other means to take this regime out. And so now we're in a position where this regime has gone as far as it can possibly.
Notice how she's just assuming we want to take this regime out, right? Why do we want to take this regime out? What does it have to do with America? Nothing at all.
Go. It's funded its proxies across the Middle East. It has supported massacres such as October 7th. It has shown unrelentless signs of committing its empire expansion across the Middle East.
Yeah, she's still talking about Iran. She's acting like there's a greater Iran project. Like the country that she's not talking about, they're the ones trying to do all the stuff she's projecting onto Iran right here. They are literally trying to take parts of Lebanon as we speak. And she's pretending like Iran's trying to take over the region.
It has embedded and entrenched in its ideology its intent to do so. It has killed Israelis, Iranians, even Muslims, and there really is no better solution.
Notice how she didn't say Americans in there, right? And we are America. Our tax dollars shouldn't be going to stop people from killing other people in any country. That's not our business.
For humanity than to remove this regime with targeted strikes on military bases, which, by the way, is a rescue operation and really doesn't need to be framed as a war.
Cenk Uygur, welcome back to Uncensored. Always good to have you. When I hear someone like Elica talking in such a
gives him a headache too.
Emotive way about this, I completely understand why a lot of people who have a vested personal interest in Iran and have so many people they know there obviously feel this strongly about it. But I'm skeptical when I hear people like John Bolton, because it reminds me exactly of the build up to the Iraq war, which I opposed as editor of the Daily Mirror in the UK. I led the media campaign against it over here and was very sad and angry when I failed in that campaign. I wish I'd been successful. But it's the same kind of jungle drums beating. And the problem is, once you go into a place like Iraq, as it turned out, or now Iran, then it's very hard to control the sequence of events that follows. I don't see this as being as clean a situation as, say, Venezuela, where you just take out Maduro and everyone goes home. I think this could be a real hornet's nest.
Yeah. So Young Turks is the longest running show in online history. So we were on the air during the Iraq war buildup, and we were one of only 2 national shows screaming, no, don't do it. Don't listen to people like John Bolton. The neocons have always been wrong, preposterously wrong. They said, Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. It's so dangerous. We have to go in. They said it was connected to 9/11. It was all lies. Now here comes the same liars lying to us again on behalf of Israel and saying, oh, my God, Iran is so dangerous. Weapons of mass destruction. Yeah, that's the ticket. We'll use that same BS argument. And then the second argument coming from John Bolton and the Israelis is hilarious. We care so much about the Iranian people. Those Muslim lives mean so much to Israel and to the neocons. That's why we have to bomb them and kill them. Get out of here. Nonsense. So, look, for the folks on here who are Iranian, there are plenty of Persians who say, yeah, we hate this current government. I don't blame them for that. I have great sympathy for them in that regard. But you could say, hey, the Iranian people would like this. Trust me, bro. Maybe. The Israelis can say, we demand another war in the Middle East on our behalf. Iran is 4 times the size of Iraq, and that one cost you a couple of $1 trillion, and hundreds of thousands of people lost their lives. But we demand that America listen to our orders again, and that's exactly what they're doing. Or we can listen to the American people. How is this a difficult choice? You cited a poll where 70% of Americans said we don't want this. There's another poll out that says 85%. So if we were having a panel here that was representative of the American people, it would be at least 8 people saying, no, don't go in. It has nothing to do with us. And 2 people going, yeah, we need it for Iran. And 1 person for Iran and 1 person going, we need it for Israel. So we don't need it at all. It's going to be an epic disaster if we get in. Unfortunately, the president's a bit of a child, so the Israelis lead him around by the nose. Attack their sites. No, get their uranium. No, get their ballistic missiles. No, make sure they don't support the proxy groups. constantly pushing and pushing the American people into their stupid, endless wars where we waste so many lives and the entire American treasure. We did $8 trillion on the global war on Israel's enemies. Enough! Serve America. Going into this war would be absolute madness, and it would turn into disaster. On behalf of the American people, I say loudly, no.
I like that. And this is the first war of my life that I've ever seen, like that involves America, where we actually have social media. You have a phone in your pocket where you can communicate with the world, and people are being able to speak out. During the Gulf Wars and all that shit, we had no way. Like you could be mad all you want, no one can hear you. This is the very important part of this. This is how we're going to end this kind of shit, because now people can like voice their opinion and everyone can hear it. This is a very different thing. And I'm so excited that we have social media for this, because it's needed.
Okay, Goldie Gamara, you fled Iran as a toddler.
Thanks,
no one is more personally invested in its future than somebody like you. What is your response to Cenk Uygur?
I mean, this whole Jews control the world trope is just becoming very old. This is, please don't interrupt me, Cenk. I let you spout your jihadi propaganda. I don't have the time or patience to deal with your nonsense. So all right, you know what? Pierce, I actually just sent you a clip.
As if it's jihadi propaganda to tell her what the American people say in our polls. That's jihadi propaganda? No, that's just him telling you what America wants and what they don't want, bitch.
Of the Islamic regime, state TV, airing your interview from last time where they are defending Cenk and they're attacking me. I just sent that clip to your producers. So, you have to ask yourself.
Such a victim. They're all such a victim.
When you have the Islamic regime defending the arguments of someone like Cenk, it makes you wonder, is Cenk working for the regime or is he being a useful idiot for them? All I'm saying is that, these anti-Semitic tropes, no one's buying them anymore. Ultimately,
an anti-Semitic trope to say that Americans don't want to go fight a war in Iran. What is anti-Semitic about that? He said nothing else that was really could be considered anti-Semitic. Americans don't want to fight wars in Iran to benefit Israel. That's just a fact.
The Iranian people have made it very clear what they want. And as you can see, the fact that even I'm speaking is threatening Cenk so much that he feels the need to laugh and interrupt. But, I do not listen to the words, or I don't even want to legitimize the words of anyone who is being defended by the Islamic regime, because you don't go on the Islamic regime state TV unless you're basically sanctioned by Khamenei. So it's very strange to me that someone who claims that they're America first is being defended by these.
Right. So don't listen to any of those people, but believe anyone who goes on Israeli media. Yeah, you got to believe them. Why?
Islamic regime.
Well, to be clear, I don't think Cenk has gone on Iranian state TV. They've used a clip of him.
They've been on the tour.
Exactly. They used a clip of him to defend his arguments about how Israel is behind everything. So again, when your arguments line up with the
on the Young Turks, does that mean we agree with you?
When the Islamic regime is basically relying on the arguments of someone like Cenk Uygur, especially with these anti-Semitic tropes, I think it just goes to show how strange the situation is.
Okay, let me bring in Dave Smith. Dave Smith, welcome back to.
You're all anti-Semites if you don't go to war for Israel. Yeah, nobody's buying that crap anymore. Go fight your own wars. Besides which, you obviously work for the Israelis. So why should we listen to anyone who works for the Israelis?
Cenk, last time I checked, your name is not Cenk. Your name is not Dave Smith. You may like it to be, but it's not.
No.
So let me come to the actual Dave Smith.
No, I'm
Dave. I'm seeing a lot of this pushback actually from people on the Iranian side saying this whole debate gets quickly framed as this is what Israel wants to do in Iran, when actually there might be perfectly legitimate reasons why the United States, for its own defense and for its own geopolitical reasons, may want to dismantle this Iranian regime. But
let's hear them. What are those reasons? Do you think everybody was sitting around like the day before we attacked them and just said, I hope they go and attack Iran today. I want my gas to jump through the roof. I want to just not be able to afford to go to the grocery store. We were all just thinking that, for safety. because we were so worried about what Iran was going to do.
This is an argument I've seen. What is your response to that argument? That it's not just at Israel's bidding, it actually suits America to do this. And indeed, I've seen people like Saudi Arabia and others saying, they've been reported as saying they're perfectly happy if the US wants to do this.
Well, first off, I'll defend Cenk and say, I don't know. I think I'm the only Jewish guy on the panel here. There's nothing even remotely anti-Semitic about what Cenk said. And obviously, Pierce, there's no, I don't.
Do you speak for Iran? Why do you get to speak for them? He can't speak for his own religion. Okay.
Do you speak for the Jews?
No, I think all this, no, I don't. I think actually all this identitarianism is pretty stupid, but I think it was pretty stupid to call Cenk anti-Semitic for saying that obviously Israel. Pierce, it's just completely undeniable that Israel wants this war. Every other week, Netanyahu comes here, and when he does, that's all they talk about. And if you want to say that, look, of all the wars, in fact, John Mearsheimer and Walt wrote that great book, The Israel Lobby, and they had a couple of great anecdotes in there where U.S. officials were saying during the Iraq war to the Israelis, like, hey, shut up, because you're making this look like this is a war for Israel. Like, you don't want to reveal that too much. In this case, this is clearly a war.
I love how they pretend like this isn't for Israel. We have video footage of the prime minister of Israel going in front of our Congress and begging for this kind of war since the 90s. And now that it's happening, oh, it's not Israel. Israel didn't want that. That's the same thing they did with Iraq. They sent Benjamin Netanyahu to tell us all how we need it, and then they say, oh, we didn't want that. He wasn't the prime minister at the time, even though he got elected prime minister right after and still didn't help us.
Or for Israel. That's what the geopolitical motivator is here. And listen, for both you guys, I'm an anti-government guy across the board. I'm anti all governments, including the mullahs and the Ayatollah. But if you're actually arguing that U.S. foreign policy moves based on humanitarian impulses, it's just too ridiculous. We back the Saudis in their genocide of the people of Yemen. We back Israel in their genocide of the people of Gaza. We back all types of just brutal regimes. The United Arab Emirates and their role in Sudan right now, that doesn't stop us from backing them. So the idea that this has anything to do with like the treatment of the Iranian people, that's all just ridiculous. It's not about that. And Pierce, all those same people who you correctly stood up and fought against, who wanted to lie us into Iraq, they've all in their own words admitted that Iran has always been the goal, that eventually we get regime change there too. And as far as the idea that, well, we can do a regime change without boots on the ground, it's possible. Maybe they can locate where the Ayatollah is and take him out. And maybe that does, unlike the situation in Venezuela, actually take out the regime. But there's every reason in the world to think that would be the worst thing for the Iranian people. You look at examples like Libya or Syria, where we were able to orchestrate regime changes without massive numbers of troops on the ground. And it's a disaster for the people. Libya is a failed state to this day. And that is what Benjamin Netanyahu is quite happy to make Iran, because they see that as advantageous to them. And so, yeah, that's all a big part of this, and why any sane American would want to support this policy. It makes no sense. As Cenk said, no one wants this war. None of the other states in the region want it. Europe doesn't want it. Your own country, Pierce, has been given pushback to the U.S. over the last 48 hours about it. The American people don't want it. The only people who want this war are Israel and the Israel lobby, essentially.
Brilliant point by Dave. And I would like to point out, he mentioned Libya. Libya, since we liberated them, they have slavery now. So there are things like slavery and concentration camps in the world right now. So to pretend like America goes and fights for humanitarianism and starts wars of aggression because of humanitarian reasons is dog shit. It's dog shit. Why would we not go back into Libya then and stop the slaves over there, or go to China and stop the Uyghur Muslim concentration camps? Why do we pretend these are just presets that we put in our head, and we try and program everyone into thinking that's what we're doing this for? We're going to go liberate Iran with bombs. Literally, we're liberating them with bombs. I think they'd rather just stay in their shackles than to be bombed.
That's not true.
Elica, I can see you frowning there, Elica. What's your response to Dave Smith?
First of all, the idea that Israel wants this war and therefore that negates everything else in the universe just proves that.
Just for the conservatives right now. That's the only people that means that to. The rest of us normal people, no, we don't see it that way. And I am conservative, just not Zionist conservative.
This anti-Zionist ideology makes Israel the sun around which they orbit. And when they orbit Israel like the sun, nothing else exists to them anymore. It is perfectly possible for multiple people to align in a shared goal. Of course, Israel wants this war. Why would Israel not want to take out a regime that has been terrorizing them through their proxies, not just for the past 2 years, but for the past decades? Of course, it is in Israel.
And Israel has never started shit with anyone in the region, right? They took over the land. They kicked out the people who lived there so they could live in Israel. And they basically have had I don't know what you call them, like a slave state. Like they don't have the same rights. They are not good people. I love it when they try and pretend like Israel's just so kind and wonderful, and they just do all this out of the benefits because they have such big hearts. That's insane. Only a moron could even try and say that in view of what we have to look at on TV. You can just turn it on and see they destroyed the entire land so they could ethnically cleanse it and put Israelis there. This is just horseshit.
Israel's interest, as it should be, because why wouldn't you want a terrorist state that has an eschatological vision of eliminating you for justice to arrive on earth to be eliminated? Okay, yes, we all understand it is Israel's goal, and good for them that it's their goal. Okay, second of all, the Iranian people also have their own sovereignty, their own national interests in mind, and those are aligned goals. Now, it isn't just the Iranian people. It isn't just the Israeli people. If you do not eliminate the Islamic regime, you end up in a forever war that ultimately implicates the US. And so if you don't want war...
How so? How so? Because we're in bed with the people. This is just like it was like with all the people who were siding with the bad guys of World War II, I think. Like, you're just stuck with them. Once you ally with them, you're just stuck with them. Now you got to go to get beat in a war. They are definitely like very similar to how those people from World War II were behaving.
You take out this regime. You said you could do diplomacy with the regime all of these years. You tried to do the JCPOA. You tried to do this Obama-style diplomacy. And then what happened down the line? Their proxies just kept getting stronger. They continued to do their attacks all over the Middle East.
Nick.
They did October 7th. And what happened when October 7th happened was that Israel had to go to war with Hamas. And guess what? The US had to be implicated to defend its ally. So if you don't want a forever...
Right. So we're saying stop pretending like they're our ally. They're our ally who gives us nothing but like litigious bullshit, like lawsuits and bad intelligence that leads us into wars we shouldn't have never got in for 20 years. That's what they give us. Thanks. Keep it.
A war forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. You have to eliminate the source of the forever war. You have.
Notice how she just acts like it's not even a possibility to just decouple from Israel. Just, you're on your own, motherfuckers. How is that not an option? Like, it is an obvious option. And I promise you, when we get a president who's not a Zionist and he goes to negotiate with Iran and he tells them, look, Israel's on their own. We're done. We want out of it. Leave us alone. We leave you alone. I think we could almost make them an ally at that point.
Have to eliminate the people. You have to eliminate the people who make war inevitable. Israel has only ever responded to the acts of the regime and its proxies. And to go even further, it was actually very popular at the time to say no to war with Germany, to say no to war with the Nazis. But guess what? All of those deaths that ensued, those were deaths that were made inevitable by the Nazis because they were relentless. You had the peace for our time, the Munich Agreement, where everyone was like, finally, we're going to have peace. Then they invaded Poland. And you can see these people who are ideological extremists will always inevitably pull the entire world into war. So if you are anti-war, fantastic. Let's eliminate this regime so there's no more wars and no more threats to the United States.
As if Iran has gotten us into a whole bunch of wars. Who has gotten us into a whole bunch of wars, though? Like, we have eyes, we can see. It's not like Iran got us to go and invade Iraq. They didn't do that. They didn't get us to go invade Afghanistan. Did they do that? Did they get us to go mess with Libya? Nope. Who did?
And the rest of the world.
Okay, let me just take a short break from the panel. I'll come back to you in a moment. I want to just move now because Dave Smith referenced the infamous list which held that Iran was always the aim in the Middle East. And we're now joined by the former NATO commander, General Wesley Clark. General Clark, great to have you back on Uncensored.
This is an interview. I'm going to skip to where they get back to the panel. It's at the.
There was, of course, this famous Pentagon memo, which you saw shortly after 9/11. You said it described Cenk Uygur. I mean, there's your answer from a former commander of NATO forces, which is it's not just about Israel wanting this to happen. It is in America's strategic interest to prevent Iran developing nuclear weapons.
Nonsense. So, I mean, I really respect General Clark. I don't know what's happened to him. That letter was very clear. They did, the neocons and Israel First did execute it. They have knocked out 6 to 7 of those countries, just like they said they would. They've gone to Iran at the end, just like they said they would. If we're talking about a country that is destabilizing the region and the world with endless wars, that country is Israel. I mean, look, this whole thing is topsy-turvy. The whole framing of the discussion is ludicrous. Israel has attacked 7 of its neighbors, not Iran. Israel forced us into the Iraq war, and they said it would be easy, and it was a disaster. They said they were doing it for the Iranian people, and then we wound up killing hundreds of thousands of Iraqis. We lost thousands of our own men. The fake weapons of mass destruction evidence came from where? It came from Israel. They pushed us into the war with Libya. Now there's modern day slavery back in Libya. Every war they have pushed us into has cost us trillions. Hold on, General.
Notice who interrupted first here, because he's going to start crying when they interrupt him back in a minute.
Clark, hold on. They have cost us trillions of dollars. Yeah, you know that. And they have cost us blood and treasure. And it's Israel doing it, General Clark. Be a patriot. Be a patriot. Stand up for America, not for Israel. I'm not going to go to another war for Israel. We're not going to spend trillions more for Israel. We're not going to lose American soldiers for Israel. The Israelis have bought 94% of Congress. The Israelis have bought Donald Trump. And this is a fact. And you guys keep obfuscating these facts.
Can we have some respect for the general, please?
Yeah, have respect for the guy who just interrupted you. No.
I think he doesn't deserve to be screamed at.
No, he's interrupting me. He should have respect for the American people, 85% of whom do not want to go. General Clark, why are you pushing us into this war when 85% of Americans don't want it? And you yourself know that the neocons have wanted this war for 20 years. Our interests? What interest? We said nuclear, and then we got rid of their nuclear facilities. Then now all of a sudden ballistic missiles. General Clark, tell me with a straight face that we have a right to demand that any country end their ballistic missile program.
Why don't you
stop?
Ballistic missiles, we'd have to get rid of the whole world for Israel if we're going to get rid of ballistic missiles.
Let him respond.
Of courtesy to other people. Now,
General Clark,
you want to hear what I say? Listen. First of all, there is no they there. We've been through the Bush administration. There were neocons. We've been through the Obama administration. There were no neocons there. We've been through the Trump administration. He didn't want a war. We've been through the Biden administration.
This pawpaw is delusional. The Zionists have been there my entire life. I don't know what he's talking about, but we have had Zionists since well before the 70s. This has been an ongoing issue that he can't see. And he was right there with it. Like,
now we're another Trump administration. When you say they, there's no they there. There's no secret plot behind this.
The Israeli lobby is the number one.
Kennedy wanted AIPAC registered as a foreign government, just like every other lobby group has to do when they're representing foreign governments. He wanted AIPAC to be too, and now he's no longer with us. That's how they handle things.
One donor to every single person you mentioned. Biden, Trump, every one of them. The Israeli lobby has been here the whole time, General Clark. Wakey, wakey.
I don't get a chance to talk.
Cenk, please let General Clark finish his point.
Me common courtesy. Now just
I agree. I agree. Cenk, let the general respond.
Let the general who interrupted you respond without interrupting him back. Good point.
And I'm going to say it not just to you, but to all the other panelists. So there's no they there. This is about national interests. And you can go through these states one by.
Notice how he just does an assertion there. There is no they there. Prove it. Prove it, old man. Just saying it doesn't make it so.
I won. First of all, I was against the invasion of Iraq. I knew it was a mistake and it wasn't going to work out well. I was against it.
But we did it anyway.
But it's the men and women in uniform. Of course, you're not against your own soldiers fighting. You want them to succeed. But the mission was a bad mission, and I called it for that. Syria, there was a revolution there. President Obama said Bashar Assad shouldn't stay in charge. But unfortunately, he did until Turkey got rid of him. On Libya, I warned the United States not to intervene because there was no follow-on for that, and we've still got a mess in Libya. We've never been able to come to terms with Darfur, Sudan, and what's happening in the center of Africa.
Notice how he's going through all these military incursions we had to go on because of Israel. But this one's a good one. Yay, we finally got to a good one.
Now, when you turn to Iran, Iran has been a continuous problem for the United States. They killed hundreds of our soldiers with the explosively formed penetrators when we were in Iraq.
Right. When we go to their lands and their countries that are neighboring them, yes, they might get involved. But if we didn't send them there, which you already said was a bad idea, would those people have died? Nope. So how are they our enemy? We're their enemy, but they're not doing much to us here. They're bombing Israel. They're not bombing America. So why do we need to go fight them? They never can answer this. Just, oh, they bomb people whenever we invade them. Well, stop invading them.
They started this thing back in the late 1970s, early 80s. They assassinated a bunch of Iranian generals because they'd been to school in the United States. So what's their beef with the United States? They want trouble from the United States. That's their raison d'etre. That's what keeps the, well, you can shake your head, but I'm telling you, look at the propaganda.
Even when they do bomb us back, they let us know where they're going to bomb us so no one gets hurt, so it doesn't escalate things. How are they the awful ones? Israel wouldn't do that for us. They steal from us. They're a leech. They're not our friends.
So is Israel concerned? Of course Israel should be concerned. As
And that's all that matters. If Israel's concerned, we have to do something.
Ayatollah has said, and others, when they get nuclear weapons, they're going to use them. Now, I've been all through the Gulf leadership. Maybe you've talked to those leaders too, but I have, and they don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. They can't do much about it.
Did you ask them if they wanted Israel to have one? I'd be really curious. Did you ask those same people, hey, how do you feel about Israel having them and just lying about it? Did you ask them that?
But they hope that we will. And unfortunately, the agreement that we thought we solved it with in 2015 was thrown out in 2018. And I agree that
I'll bet you we could get Iran to agree to never have nuclear weapons if we also get Israel to give up theirs. How about we propose that to them? We take away Israel's nuclear weapons and then you just agree to never have them. Wouldn't that be a good agreement? We get rid of both sides that have nuclear weapons. We want no nuclear weapons in the world, so that's a better thing than just letting Israel keep theirs and fighting against Iran, trying to get one too.
That agreement wasn't a great agreement. It didn't stop their ballistic missiles, and it didn't stop their axis of resistance. It didn't deal with Hezbollah, but it was an agreement. Now, we don't have anything, and so we're on the precipice of another set of military strikes in the region. Is that a good thing? No, it's not a good thing. It'd be a lot better if Iran would simply become a normal state, engage in trade, work with its neighbors, stop trying to take over the region, stop threatening Israel. But Iran doesn't seem, under its present regime, to want to do that. So that's where we're headed. Thank you, Pierce.
This dude needs to go back to picking blueberries or whatever he was doing, because he is not doing very well here.
Okay, let me wait 1 second. I will come to everybody, but I want to get Dave Smith's response to that. Dave Smith.
Okay, well, I mean, if the general who is on the record, not just on that Amy Goodman interview, but here on this show, Pierce, who said the plans went back a decade before that, and that they were resurrected in a study paid for by the Israelis. If he's walking away from that or saying, well, yeah, that happened, but there were 4 different administrations in there, so there's no they there. Well, as Cenk was pointing out there, Benjamin Netanyahu's been here pretty much the entire time. The Israel lobby's been here pretty much the entire time. And
yeah, I'm no fan of Hassan at all.
Certainly have to admit, sir, it's an awfully big coincidence that you saw that there was a plan to overthrow 7 countries And that since that time, now, obviously, none of us are arguing it didn't happen the way you said it was going to. It's supposed to happen in 5 years. And obviously, the war in Iraq ended up being a quagmire that was unforeseen by most of the military establishment at the time. But Israel and or the United States of America have attacked all of those countries, maybe minus Sudan, which kind of collapsed without those attacks. That would seem to be a huge coincidence there. And it seems much more likely that those entrenched interests that were pushing for that continued to push for that over all of these years, especially when the fact is that we can look at who's been advocating for all of these policies over the years, and it's been Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israel Firsters and the Israel Lobby and all of them. I think it's kind of crazy to expect us to somehow get them out of any responsibility for this. And in terms of, Pierce, just last summer, I was on this show. We were having a bunch of arguments. Everybody back then said it was about the 60% enriched uranium, that I was crazy for claiming that this was about a regime change operation. And here we are a few months later. President Trump has boasted that he obliterated their nuclear program, that it's no issue. And yet we still need to go back to war with Iran once again. The fact of the matter is that the impetus for the global war on terrorism to begin with was our beef with radical Sunni terrorist groups. There's no reason for the United States of America to be at war with the Shiites. And you can mention, by the way, I don't think the general is correct in saying that Iran was responsible for killing that many soldiers in Iraq. I think they were Iraqi Shiites, and I think most of those roadside bombs were made in Iraq. My friend Scott Horton has demonstrated this in his great book, Enough Already. But the bottom line is just that we are $38 trillion in debt. Well, one second, General, and I won't interrupt you.
Generals love interrupting and then crying when people interrupt them back in the middle of their interruption.
No. Well, let me just finish my point. And then, okay. I don't think that's true, but regardless.
This is why we take their licenses away.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Okay. Listen. I said 38. Is it 39 or 40? I can't keep track anymore. We're close to $40 trillion in debt. We have major problems in our own country, including a drug overdose epidemic, a homelessness epidemic. We have we have tens of millions of people who are in our country illegally, and yet we're flirting with what is obviously, definitionally, a war of choice, a war of aggression. We're not responding to an attack from Iran, and to move all these goalposts. Oh, they support proxies in the region. They have intercontinental ballistic missiles. Yeah, in other words, they're a government. Yes, in other words, they haven't just completely, as Witkoff said the other day, that Trump was curious.
Canada has missiles too. Let's go get them.
Why they haven't capitulated. In other words, they haven't completely capitulated to us and said they're going to make themselves entirely defenseless against the Israelis who attack them throughout the years with impunity. This is ridiculous. We have no need to fight this war. We're flirting with another catastrophe for no reason.
Okay, let me bring in the two ladies who've been waiting very patiently. Elica, I'll come to you one moment, but let Goldie Gamari respond first, and then Elica. Goldie first.
Well, thank you so much, Pierce. First of all, I just want to thank the General for his service. And thank all American military for everything they've done to defend democracy and freedom around the world. So thank you for your service, General. So the way that we have to frame this and the way that we have to look at it, Pierce, is that right now we are in a forever war with the Islamic regime. And what happened is back in 1979, it was Jimmy Carter and the Democrats that backed the IOC.
Who is we that she's talking about? Like, is she including me in that we? Like, I'm supposed to know we were at war with Iran all these years? Like, how would I know that? They've done nothing to us, so how would I know?
And that's what basically led to the Islamic coup d'etat. And so right now, Iran is unfortunately a failed state. And so what Iranians are trying to do is, we're trying to rectify the mistake. Is regime change the goal? 100%. Absolutely. We Iranians, we have been trying to fix Jimmy Carter's mistake.
Why does she think it's our job to go fix their government? Is that what, like, I don't remember that in the Constitution when I read it last. I don't remember saying we're going to go and take down all the governments around the world that we don't like. That's not a part of America. That is not what we do. It's not what we're supposed to do. It's what we've been doing, but it's not what we're going to continue doing.
Mistake since 1979. And this is the first time since the Islamic regime took over that we actually have a United States.
The reason they don't want Iran to have nuclear weapons so bad is because then they can't bully them like this. Do you notice they don't mess with North Korea because they got them, or they say they got them? I don't even know if they really do, but they say they have them, so they give them the respect as another country that has nuclear weapons, so you don't even mess with them. They're afraid to do that because they want to be able to bully them so Israel can get bigger. That's the whole point of this.
States president who is standing with the Iranian people, recognizing full well that U.S. and Iranian interests are aligned right now. And by Iranian, I mean the Iranian people. I don't mean the Islamic regime that's occupying us. Because, you know, as the general said, prior to 1979, Iran and the United States were allies. So right now, the country is currently in that failed state situation. And I can say that, Iranians in occupied Iran are incredibly grateful that the United States is coming to help liberate them. This is not a war, Pierce. This is not a war. This is a rescue mission. The United States is coming to help rescue 90 million Iranians who have been held hostage.
Because we do that so often. We're always rescuing people around the world, like foreigners that have nothing to do with us. Like, you could really make that argument. We should be invading North Korea right now. They're starving their people. It's being ran shittily. Like, why are we not invading them? Because they have a nuclear weapon, or they pretend like it, and that's why they don't want Iran to get one. Because then we'll just have to respect their sovereignty as a country too. Who wants to do that?
Hostage by a brutal and savage dictatorship. With respect to what Dave Smith was saying about the proxies, exactly. I'll leave that up to the general.
All of them.
Okay, Elica.
Nonsense.
So when there's these constant examples of where the US has failed in intervention, you have to wonder, why is it that they keep repeating the worst case scenarios? Why don't they talk about the US intervention in Kuwait to stop Iraq's intervention, right? Which actually led to stability in Kuwait. Why don't we talk about Bosnia? Why don't we talk about Kosovo? Why don't we talk about the times where NATO and the US have done tremendous work to bring stability with targeted strikes, okay? The reason that they keep mentioning this is because they want to constantly frame this.
She just brought up a 20-year quagmire war as a success. That's the way these people think. Right? They don't care if we're there until our grandchildren are adults. They just want us to keep fighting for them. How is that a success? Iraq was a success. Afghanistan, you think that was a success? Like, we got out of there like we were boyfriends sneaking out the fucking window, and we left about $1 billion or $2 billion worth of equipment or more. What? How are those successes? We look like assholes.
In the worst case scenario for the US, so as to defend the terrorist regime, which makes you wonder why. Second of all, this claim that we don't want to, intervene in Iran because it's going to be a failed state and it's going to kill hundreds of thousands of people. I'm sorry, you don't care now that it's a failed state. You don't care now how many people are being killed. You want to talk about Iraq? You want to say hundreds of thousands of people were killed in Iraq. How many people did Saddam Hussein kill? 180,000 Kurds alone, chemical genocide against Kurds, the ethnic cleansing of Turks,
and
of
we
Kurds,
backed them.
of Shia Muslims. So you want to say,
how many people did Russia kill during the Cold War? Or even before that, like before we even got to the Cold War? They were awful too. They're awful countries around the globe. Why is it our responsibility to go fight them all? Right? Why? Why is that our job? And why do we pick and choose the ones that have oil so that we can use your brain? Use your brain. This is not about humanitarian anything. It never is.
That if we should have just left Saddam Hussein, and he's expanding his war in Kuwait, his war in Iran, and you want to say that what the US did was so bad, fine, it was bad, but before it was worse. And if it was left unchecked, how much worse would it be? So this isn't about what the facts are. This is about how you are looking at the facts. And this isn't, no, we don't interrupt. This is...
Yes, we do.
I was just going to ask a question. You interrupted me before plenty of times.
Ask me my question after. You can ask me my question.
You're not my teacher, so don't scold me.
Stop.
Keep interrupting her, Dave. Please.
Just stop. we're not looking at this through the lens of fact. We're looking at this through the lens of how can we look at this in the most negative way so we don't support attacks on the regime. Second of all, this constant thing about Israel is the one that wants this war. We have all conceded and acknowledged that Israel does for obvious reasons. You're talking about, you take Israel and you take the IRGC, you take this terrorist regime that has enshrined an eschatological vision to eliminate Israel in its charter and has repeatedly acted on that vision. Any sane country in the world, whether it was US or Israel, would obviously want to protect itself. So you're talking about a liberal democracy that seeks safety and
She acts like we're mad that they're trying to defend themselves. No, defend yourself away. Stop making us go defend you. I don't give a shit if you defend yourself. Good for you. That's not our issue. We don't give a fuck what goes on over there. I don't care how many Israelis they kill, and I don't care how many Israelis kill Iranians. That's not our issue.
Protection of its own people, and you're talking about a terrorist state that wants to eliminate that state. And so to even look at this in any other lens is just to be out of touch with reality. You talk about Israel doing these strikes on Hezbollah, when Hezbollah is the one that is throwing its rockets into Israel. You talk about its strikes on the Houthis. Think about this.
I don't even understand how these people get to be commentators. Pretend like he shopped a dozen different excuses he was going to go and invade them for. They even got up to, they say, death to America, and nobody went for that because we have freedom of speech. So they were shopping an excuse for this war. They were going to do it no matter what. And she's pretending like we can't see that. Like he made up some of the dumbest excuses. Oh, they're going to have they're having a revolution. They're going to kill all these revolution people that we armed. We set that up. That was us. That wasn't some spontaneous thing where these people just found some guns and decided to go start a civil war. No, we started that. And Trump has already admitted to it. So what are they talking about?
The regime created the regime created Hezbollah as a second IRGC to station it in the closest border to Israel for the sole purpose of eliminating Israel and creating a second Islamic Republic in Lebanon. Now, you want to say that in response to that, Israel should just bend over and do nothing? Of course, Israel wants this war because it is.
Come on! How much more can Israel do?
It is
endless goddamn war because of Israel. Can I respond to this?
She's still not getting it. We don't care if Israel does that. Do whatever you want. Stop making us do it.
Utter rubbish. This garbage Israeli propaganda.
Anti-Semitism is a mind virus, and you've lost your mind. Okay, so just be quiet.
Yeah. Anti-Semitism. Blah, 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 blah. We've heard that garbage over and over to shield Israel from criticism. We're not going to take it anymore. You call the whole country anti-Semites. You think Israel has called all of America anti-Semites. 85% of us don't want this war, and then you come in and go, "You dirty anti-Semite Americans! You owe us more war! You owe us trillions of dollars! We are beloved Israel! We want endless
war!" One question for you,
Cenk.
One question for you. What percentage of Germans were anti-Semites?
What the hell does that have to do with this? The real fascists.
Yeah, give me that information. Tell me what was in their heads. Please go tell me what all those dead people, what were they thinking? Is this what?
Israel.
Is that really a gotcha?
You want to ask me what percentage of Israel are fascists? Unfortunately, the percentage is over 50%.
You know what the point is, Cenk? The point is that it is a mind virus.
Can I actually answer any of this garbage that they're putting?
Notice how she just keeps calling it a mind virus and never explains how it's a mind virus. It's like they assert things over and over again and just hope that the propaganda kicks in and you just start believing it because you heard it called propaganda 10 times or you got it called whatever, mind virus. So now it's a mind virus if you don't want to fight wars for Israel. You have a mind virus.
Can you stop interrupting her, please? It's getting, you're very rude. You're very rude.
Interrupting her. She's gone on for 10 minutes.
How long do you think you went on?
Okay.
Let me, Cenk, I'll give you a brief right of reply there, and then I want to go to the general.
So, guys, this is a total illusion. The country starting all the wars in the Middle East is Israel, not Iran. The ones that have the religious ideology of taking over the Middle East is Israel. They call it Greater Israel. It's a patch on their uniform. It's a map in their Knesset. They're trying, and their cabinet members say, we're going for Greater Israel. Greater Israel is most of the Middle East. The reason why knocking out their nuclear, so-called nuclear program wasn't enough for these warmongers is because they want every country in the Middle East defenseless so Israel can attack and take more land. And have they actually attacked and taken more land? Yes, they currently have 53% of Gaza. They say they're never going to give back Golan Heights. They keep talking about how Israel should exist. Israel already exists, already has nukes, and is super dangerous with those nukes. They already have Iron Dome. They already have the greatest military in the Middle East. It's the Palestinians who don't exist because the Israelis won't allow them. The Israelis are doing a fascist, a Greater Israel project, and our press won't talk about it, even though the Israelis talk about it nonstop. We've shown video after video on the Young Turks of how they're going for Greater Israel. And the idea that Iran is taking over their neighbors, they haven't taken over any neighbors. Israel keeps taking land while our press keeps lying to you and pretending that Israel's the victim when they are the aggressor, and they don't do it with their own money and they don't do it with their own troops. They force America to spend trillions of dollars and lose American soldiers for Israel. 85% of this country does not want it. When you hear this propaganda telling you, no, Israel wants it. And if Israel doesn't get what it wants, we're going to call all of you anti-Semites. All you Americans are anti-Semites unless you give Israel $330 billion, spend $8 trillion on the global war on terror, and we want another war and another war. And then they pretend Iran wants endless war. Israel is making us pay for their endless war. Don't listen to the liars. Stand up for the American people,
you've made the
not
point.
the Israeli people. I'm looking at this propaganda. Now she's talking.
This is the same programming they tried to do with all the woke horse shit. Anytime you disagree with what we want to do, you're a racist. Anytime you disagree with what we want to do, you're a transphobe or whatever. Call me whatever. I'll be all of it. I don't give a shit. I don't care what other people think. So it doesn't really matter what you call me. I'm going to tell you the way I think. And that's what these guys are trying to get through to them, that we're seeing through this programming. It's done with.
About how the Iraq war was a great
you made
idea.
Your point, Cenk.
And how we're going to be greeted as liberators. That's what they told us in Iraq. No, the Iranian people also do not want to be bombed. That is an Israeli lie.
We're running out of time.
Well, this Iranian does, because she's not in Iran. But I bet you the ones in Iran would like for the bombs to stop.
I just want, you've actually reminded me, and I want to come to Dave Smith quickly for this, then go to the general. Tucker Carlson interviewed the US ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, this week. And Mike Huckabee said something that managed to get condemnation from pretty much every other country in the region, because he said this.
This particular area that we're talking about now, Israel, is a land that God gave through Abraham to a people that he chose. It was a people, a place, and a purpose. We can look at it that way. Christian Zionism, I want to go back because that's where we started.
I'm not going to let you off on this because you have said it 3 times that God gave this land to this people. What does that mean? Does Israel have the right to that land? Because you're appealing to Genesis. You're saying that's the original.
That's the ambassador to Israel from America. And that's how he feels. I don't know if they're going to get to it, and I got to break this up because I will get a copyright for showing Tucker. So I have to talk a little bit. But yeah, this guy is crazy. Mike Huckabee, go watch that interview. That was nuts.
Deed. It would be fine if they took it all.
Take it all, Dave, was the US ambassador to Israel.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad you played that clip. I'm about to do a whole show on breaking down that interview. I think one of the things that's so, I mean, aside from the fact that it's just like how insane and what a religious fundamentalist you have to be to believe that God gave Iraq to Netanyahu or something like that. But what's really wild about this, as I'm sure the general can back up, that since at least the 1970s, the official U.S. position has been that we support 67 borders and that we ultimately want a Palestinian state. The U.S. is officially, not that we're going to do anything about any of that, but we're officially against the settlement expansions in the West Bank. And here you have the U.S. ambassador to Israel. I mean, it sure seems like he's the Israeli ambassador, if you ask me, but his title is he's the U.S. ambassador to Israel, just saying because of his religious beliefs, he would be absolutely fine with Israel not just taking the West Bank and Gaza and the Golan Heights as they have since 1967, but evidently, Pierce, taking huge swaths of Iraq, Jordan, Lebanon. And for anybody who does not believe that God promised Iraq to Netanyahu, that is just insanity. And you do notice on this panel how a lot of people beat up on the mullahs for being religious extremists, and like, I got no beef with you on that. It certainly is true that they are. But as Cenk was pointing out, the level of extreme religious fanaticism that drives policy, both U.S. policy toward Israel and Israeli policy at the top of their government, there really is something to behold. We're not as secular and as one might believe. And I just want to say, and then I'll shut up for the rest of the panel. But I do got to say, man, Pierce, as I know you've seen all the time, this thing where, like, if we start arguing that we shouldn't have war in Iran, then the response that we get is like, oh, you must secretly love the Ayatollah or something like that. The only reason you're doing this is because you want to protect that regime. This is like the lowest IQ, most bad faith form of political argumentation. And, people did say the same thing about people like you, Pierce, and evidently people like you, General Clark, which I was unaware of, who opposed the war in Iraq. You were protecting Saddam Hussein or spreading Saddam talking points. Over the last couple years, Pierce, isn't it amazing just on your show, I love Vladimir Putin, and I love Hamas, and I also love the Iran, and I guess I love the Houthis, but actually I'm just like a Jewish libertarian from Brooklyn who doesn't want to see more people get killed and my country get bankrupted. That's really the truth of this. And for all of you guys, your response is always, excuse me, no interrupting with little girl. And for all of you guys, listen, again, this is my.
If you don't want my opinion, don't invite me on.
Let me come to the general. General, before I come to you for the final word, because you deserve the final word.
You talked more than me, General.
After very fun. I mean, Dave makes a very good point. I remember being called a Saddam apologist because I thought the illegal war in Iraq was an atrocity that should never have been waged. And I've similarly been called an anti-Semite because I think that the Israeli government went way too far in Gaza. All of these things are preposterous, and they're a deliberate attempt to stifle freedom of speech and genuine opinion. I think it's a great shame. I've known Cenk and Dave for quite a long time now. I've never heard a moment of anti-Semitism from either of them. And to say that is what motivates them is a hatred of Jewish people is completely preposterous. Well, hang on, Elica. I've got to. We've run out of time. I just want to say that
about Cenk, that's very disingenuous.
No, it's not. He's not anti-Semitic.
Nah, he has a big hater.
He has a big problem with the Israeli government. Let's not get into it.
Cenk's too liberal to be a Jew hater. He tries to do all the kumbaya love shit. He ain't gonna be hating nobody like that.
Let General Clark talk.
If somebody can look, okay, for another show, but Elica, if you want to go away and find me evidence of Cenk Uygur saying anything which indicates a hatred of Jewish people, that's fine. If you want to find me evidence where he says he hates Jewish people,
you want to talk about an Israeli point of view?
Show me evidence.
My existence offends you. And I'm the person who's a bigot. You're the bigot. I didn't say that. Let General Clark
I said your existence is the evidence.
Okay,
you literally said that.
I'm going to wrap things up. I'm coming to General Clark. So please.
So that's the level of their arguments. Your existence is the evidence. So you just standing there means you're an anti-Semite now. That's how low the bar has gotten. Next, if you say, "Hey, I didn't like that comedy special," you're an anti-Semite, I guess.
Give the general some respect. I can tell you that the money market, Poly Market, says there's a 21% chance of a US strike on Iran by March the 1st, 57% chance by March the 31st, 73% chance by the end of the year. Over $370 million has been spent in this market. So the smart money going on an attack by the end of March. Would you agree with that, General?
What I'd say is that when you start dropping bombs on nations, and it's easy to start a war, it's not easy to finish it. So we don't know what's going to happen when it gets going. So there's going to be a lot of judgment calls between now and then. And we're just going to have to see how they go. But I will say this, that there has been a continuum of American interest to see a peaceful Middle East, and that Iran has been the troublemaker in that Middle East since the overthrow of the Shah. And secondly, that
because from his perspective, Israel can't be the bad guys because they're our ally. That's the only thing that makes any sense. What other reason? Like, you don't have eyes. You can't see that they've started 7 wars in the region, but Iran's the troublemaker, right? Because they get a little finicky whenever you bomb them.
that in terms of Israel itself, I was there when Israel pulled back out of southern Lebanon. Some people said, you're making a mistake. Ehud Barak said, nope, we're going to do it. Sure enough, it led to trouble. I was there when later when Israel pulled out of Gaza, and they said, no, let's let Gaza be there. I remember when Condoleezza Rice advocated for democracy. Let's have the Palestinians vote, and they voted in Hamas. So there have been many, many efforts to head this off, and yet Israel finds itself in a very, very unfriendly area. The Abraham Accords, that was a good step forward. But who's against the Abraham Accords? Well, Iran, of course. They don't want peace in the region. Now, in terms of...
So sign this paper and admit that Israel has a right to be here, right? That's what this is all about. You got to sign this little contract that says, hey, Israel has rights that no other country has. No, I wouldn't sign that shit either.
What's happening inside Israel, I'm a believer in the two-state solution. The same solution that President Clinton tried to get implemented in 1999, 2000, and was blocked by the PLO, Yasser Arafat.
Tell you what, we sign that, we'll sign the Abraham Accords whenever you sign on to the NPT and agree to let us go and see if you got nukes. How about that, Israel? Does that sound like a fair deal?
And probably by Iranian money. So we've had many, many efforts to solve this problem. But letting Iran have a nuclear weapon, no, that's not a way to solve the problem. So
right, we just let the war-hungry country that wants war in every direction, we just let them keep theirs that they stole from us. Smart there, General. What general were you in the army for? Like ours? Our general? And you're wanting us to support a country that stole our nuclear weapons, stole Soviet shit, and then fucking sent it to the Soviets? Yeah, let's assist them. They're great allies.
So while the United States has the power and the influence, we should be doing what we can to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. And that's the end of the story as far as I'm concerned. Piers, thank you for giving me a chance.
General Clark, it's always a great honor to have you on the...
Back to picking blueberries, old man. Jesus Christ, what an idiot. All right, our next video is going to be Cenk Uygur versus Josh Hammer. Now, I know this is too much Cenk Uygur in a broadcast of mine because I really don't... I get aggravated with him too, I get it. I need y'all to just listen to the words he's saying now and just forget all the silly woke shit he had in his head. Just forget all that stuff. Let's just go off what he's saying now. That's the only way to get through it. So let's go. I'm going to have to find the timestamp, so bear with me for a second. Sometimes it moves them. Not far. There we go.
And most of all, a clear objective means a clear ending. You can't declare victory if you don't know what victory actually is. Well, joining me to discuss all this is Cenk Uygur, the founder and CEO of the Young Turks, Peter Beinart, author of the Beinart Notebook on Substack, Josh Hammer, author of Israel and Civilization, and the CPAC chairman, Matt Schlapp. Well, welcome to all of you. Matt Schlapp, let me start with you. Donald Trump's approval rating has fallen to an all-time low. A significant majority of Americans have turned on him over this war in Iran. A new Daily Mail JL Partners poll found the president's approval rating now stands at 44%, down 4 points since Friday, and the lowest rating recorded in Daily Mail tracking to date. So this is something that was unpopular anyway, has become increasingly unpopular since it started several days ago. And it represents, as I said at the time, an extremely big gamble by Donald Trump. I'm not, confident to say whether it's going to succeed or not, but I am confident in saying this is the biggest gamble of his presidency in either term and will determine, I think, his legacy. Are you concerned about this? I mean, when you see the changing position of the Republicans, which has been, flip-flopping around all week as to what the real pretext for this war is, and they're not even calling it a war yet, does it concern you?
Yeah, of course. I wouldn't call Donald Trump a gambler. I do think he's a risk taker. I think, unlike our previous presidents, if he thinks something is in the interest of the United States, he does it. It's a pretty clear calculus as far as I'm concerned. I think it's foolish to think that Donald.
What does he think a gambler is, but a risk taker? It's a distinction without a difference.
Trump is somehow being led by the nose by Benjamin Netanyahu. I think that's a bit of a conspiracy theory. Are our nations closely aligned? Yes. Do Netanyahu and Trump have a good relationship? They do. Do we have a similar strategic interest? Absolutely. Do I think Donald Trump did this because he received actionable intelligence that Iran still had heightened capabilities when it came to ICBMs and their missile capabilities, which were not taken out by the previous strike, and that their nuclear program, although hobbled, still exists. And he believed there was more work to do to make sure that those threats were taken care of. Now, I think anybody who follows American politics would say this is awfully risky politically. We're in a very important election year. If Donald Trump loses majorities in the House, he'll be impeached. If he loses majorities in the Senate, he won't be able to make any big court appointments, including to the Supreme Court. But I think in his mind, I trust him, number one, and in his mind, he believed this was the right thing to do, not just for Israel. I think that's a sidebar. He thought this was the right thing to do for America. He believed America was vulnerable with an Iran that was so aggressive and had capabilities that expand what maybe most people know.
Okay, Cenk, welcome back to Uncensored. I want to get to your response to that, and in particular, the flip-flopping by the likes of Rubio over this question of whether it was a preemptive action because of something that Israel may do or not. But I just want to talk to you, first of all, about the little exchange you and I had on X, because I was a little bit bemused by this. You posted this on Sunday. I criticized Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei 1,000 times. He was oppressing his own people and preventing democracy. But there's one thing you can't take away from him. He died on his own 2 feet instead of kneeling to Israel. That took courage. He didn't bow. And I responded to you saying that I didn't think there was anything courageous about this. He shamefully repressed his people. He sponsored terrorism all over the world. That's not cowardly. That's cowardly, not courageous. I just wonder whether, on reflection, you're happy about the wording of the post you made, because I just couldn't follow the thread. Where was he not bowing to Israel? I mean, the guy was meeting with all his top people, presumably sitting down, ironically, and he got blown to pieces because of his decades of terrorism he waged against Israel. But I didn't see a man showing any great courage either before, during, or after his demise.
Yeah. So I definitely want to address what Matt Schlapp just said in the heart of this issue. But in terms of that issue, Piers, I don't understand why it's so confusing to you. So, yeah, the Ayatollah was a terrible guy. We've said that on the Young Turks a million times. And he repressed his own people. At the same time, as you see cowards all over the Middle East, Europe, and here in America, bowing to Israel. And no matter what they do, they bow. And so this guy knew that he was going to get killed. I mean, look at what happened to Hezbollah. Look at what happened to Hamas. You know, what you got to give Israel credit for is they're excellent in terms of intelligence and military. That's why they should fight their own wars and not drag us into it. But does it take courage to know that you're going to be killed and take on Israel anyway and refuse to bend a knee? Of course it does. Where's the question? Like, you're trying to make it seem like since he has 19 other or 99 other terrible qualities, we have to lie and say that it's not courageous to take on Israel when you know you're going to die. No, of course,
it's a bit like saying, all right, it's a bit, okay, but I would say this, it's a bit like saying, you know, Adolf Hitler was a terrible man, but because part of him may have thought, well, I may end up dead if I pursue this policy of wanting global domination through Holocaust and other means, that somehow that was an act of courage. It wasn't. The guy was a genocidal maniac. I'm struggling to see what is courageous about this Ayatollah.
Yeah, so Piers, it's so easy to say this guy is bad, so everything about him is bad. And if anybody says anything good about him, then you're a monster. For example, the old thing about Hitler being a vegetarian. So do we have to hate all vegetarians? Do we have to say that it was a terrible thing that Hitler was a vegetarian? No one should be a vegetarian. No,
I'll say that. No one should be a vegetarian.
Hitler is a disgusting, terrible person. Ayatollah was terrible. By the way, Netanyahu is way worse than the Ayatollah. Are we allowed to say anything positive about Netanyahu? I mean, I think he's strategically brilliant. Oh, no, you can't say something positive about a person who's terrible. Yeah, Netanyahu is one of the worst terrorists in the world, but he is
but that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is what you've not explained to me is where the courage is in this Ayatollah's position. He was a ruthless leader.
Piers, look, I love your brother.
He didn't hide in a bunker. Cenk's point is he didn't hide in a bunker and run away and get scared. He just said, do what you're going to do. I don't think that's very smart. I'll say it that way. I don't think it's very smart, but you could reasonably see how that's braver than hiding in a bunker. Can't you say that? I think so.
Well, hang on. Let me finish.
But why
hang on.
Dense?
Let me articulate what I mean. So I'm struggling to see what is courageous about ruling over a regime that oppresses its own people, murdering thousands of them only recently.
That's not the courageous part.
But hang on. On the foreign stage,
Pierce isn't understanding that you can be an awful person and still do something that is either brave or virtuous in one way. It doesn't mean anything. He's just saying, yeah, that thing that him doing that was brave doesn't mean that it's brave to oppress your people. He didn't say that. He said he was an awful person for that.
It wages a systematic, targeted series of, through tentacles like Hamas, Houthis and Hamas, attempts to try and obliterate Israel and everything it stands for. There's nothing courageous.
That is how TDS starts right there. That's how people got trapped into TDS, because Trump is bad. So even when he does good shit, he's still bad. That's how TDS starts. Exactly what Pierce is doing right here, to say you can't have any virtue for anything else you do if you're bad on this thing. That's the way that happens. So eventually now it's just, I guess we got Ayatollah derangement syndrome.
It's about that.
But Piers, you see what you're doing, right? You're switching it up. It's like a 3-card Monty. I'm saying he was courageous for taking on Israel when almost all the other world leaders are cowards and kneel before Israel. And you're saying, it's not courageous to oppress your own people. Yeah, because that's a different topic. It's not courageous at all to oppress your own people, especially when you have, over 1 million people in the Iran Revolutionary Guard. They've been a terribly oppressive government. That doesn't mean that final act of opposing Israel was courageous. I mean, look at our cowardly leaders. Trump bows, Biden bows, Kamala Harris bowed, Mike Johnson, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, they all bow like cowards. It's a disgusting display. None of us want to see it. So you're not going to get me to back away. This is, this is exactly.
Okay, let me ask you this.
Hold on, let me finish the thought. Let me just finish the thought real quick. 10 seconds. Just like Bill Maher, when he said the 9/11 guys were obviously terrible terrorists. Obviously, Bill Maher thinks that. But did it take courage to run into the buildings? Of course it did. Of course, they're heinous, terrible people, but Bill Maher was right. Obviously, that's not a cowardly thing to do. I wish they hadn't done it. It's a terrible, disgusting thing to do. But this is kind of obvious. It feels, you know what it is? It's like obvious bad faith. Oh, we caught Cenk saying something that is true. But let's try to use it to smear him and pretend that he meant that the Ayatollah was an angel. That's not remotely true.
I don't think it was true. And if it was Netanyahu who got killed in this war, I'm pretty certain Cenk Uygur would not be lining up to call him courageous because of the way he stood up to the terrorism from Iran.
But he hides behind America. He hides behind everyone else. Netanyahu has no courage.
Piers isn't seeing it. The Ayatollah wasn't hiding behind America. He said, no, I'm not gonna just bend over for Israel like every other country around here does. That is a little brave, knowing they have nuclear weapons and their their big brother is America. That is a little bit brave. You've got to give him that. It doesn't make him a good person. It just means that standing up to Israel is brave, and everybody's a pussy for not doing it.
But on the other hand, as I just told you,
you would not call him courageous. That's my point.
As I just told you, No, because Israel is like the safest place on earth. It has Iron Dome, it has nukes, it has the best military in the Middle East and it has all of America backing it, all of Europe backing it. So that's not any courage. Like, oh, I ordered America into the war. That's not courageous. It is strategically smart, though. So, like, would I make a positive comment about Netanyahu, even though I think he's the biggest terrorist in the world? Of course I would, because he was brilliant strategically. He is today. He uses the Americans as suckers. He's stolen like $300 billion from us, caused us to fight his wars at the tune of $8 trillion. He pushed us into the Iraq war. He just pushed us into the Iran war. So that is brilliant. And I get that he wants to protect Israeli interests. So I give the devil his due, whether it's Netanyahu or the Ayatollah.
All right. I'm going to come back and get your response to
I got to say, I kind of agree with them on that. Like, it's just, yeah, it is brave to stand up to Israel. You should do that. Everyone should do that.
To what Matt Schlapp said on the bigger picture. Brave. But I do want to get the other panelists to comment on this, because I'd be very curious if anybody else genuinely thinks that the Ayatollah Khomeini was a man of courage. Josh Hammer, what's your response to that?
Yeah, Pierce, look, I think it would be very easy to, dunk on Cenk Uygur, who I'm always reminded has the morality of a cockroach and the IQ of a tadpole. I mean, it would be very easy for me to kind of just launch off, and explain why this morbidly obese fat oaf just continues to bloviate and find himself on the wrong side of every single geopolitical issue. But I'd rather cut to the actual heart of the substance here, Pierce, which is this narrative that's being advanced here, unfortunately, a little bit in your opening monologue as well, which I think is contrary to what was actually said. So this Marco Rubio clip that's been making the rounds there, Rubio himself literally said was taken remarkably out of context. If you actually play the full clip there, it is pretty clear that he didn't say what you peers have said and what many others said that Marco Rubio actually said. In fact, Donald Trump.
You didn't hear what you heard. Jewish mind trick.
Yesterday, when he was meeting with the Chancellor of Germany there in the White House, was asked point blank, did Israel drag you into this war? Donald Trump said no. If anything, we actually forced their hand. Marco Rubio reiterated that yesterday. Pete Hegseth reiterating that yet again.
Well, let's play. Okay, look, hang on. Let's play the whole Rubio.
What hilarious Israeli propaganda.
Let's play the Rubio clip.
Yesterday, you told us that Israel was going to strike Iran, and that's why we needed to get involved. Today, the president said that Iran was going to get.
Yeah, your statement is false. So that's not what I was asked very specifically. Were you there yesterday?
Yes, I asked a question.
No, were you the one that? Because somebody asked me a question yesterday. Did we go in because of Israel? And I said, you were asking me that. You from that follow up, and I said no. I told you this had to happen anyway. The president made a decision, and the decision he made was that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ballistic missile program. That Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ability to conduct these attacks. That decision had been made. The president systematically made a decision to systematically destroy this terroristic capability that they had, and we carried that out. I was very clear in that answer. This was a question of timing, of why this had to happen as a joint operation, not the question of the intent. Once the president made a decision that negotiations were not going to work, that they were playing us on the negotiations, and that this was a threat that was untenable, the decision was made to strike them. That's what I said yesterday, and you guys need to play it. And if you're going to play these statements, you need to play the whole statement, not clip it to reach a narrative that you want to do, all right?
So that was his rebuttal to what he'd said, but this is what he said the day before.
There absolutely was an imminent threat, and the imminent threat was that we knew that if Iran was attacked, and we believed they would be attacked, that they would immediately come after us. And we were not going to sit there and absorb a blow before we responded.
Israel faced an existential risk, and they were prepared to strike.
Sounds like Mark got a little upgrade, a refresher course with his Hasbara training.
Iran alone. If that happened, Iran was very likely to target our troops. That may address the question of why now? Why not 2 weeks ago? Why not 2 months from now?
I mean, it couldn't be clearer. I'm not sure how we've taken this out of context. I mean, Rubio made it crystal clear in very simple language that the reason that America took preemptive action is because they understood that we clearly assume Israel was about to attack Iran, and that the side effect of that, the consequence of that, would be that Iran would lash out and potentially attack American interests, bases or whatever. He couldn't have been clearer. And what happened then was they realized this was playing incredibly badly when a bunch of Republicans lined up with this same talking point. Donald Trump reframed the narrative in a different way, and then suddenly out they all come saying the complete opposite to what they'd said the day before.
It has come out, okay? We now know over the past 40 hours, it has come out that this operation was planned, Piers, for months and months. We now know that the Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff negotiations were what many of us said they were, which is a red herring and a decoy. That has all come out. This is in the works.
Thank God. That's why he sent his real estate agents to negotiate for America. If I'd have thought that was real, I would be really scared that our president's senile, sending his son-in-law and his real estate agent to negotiate war.
Trump and Netanyahu working hand in glove, planning this joint binational operation for months and months and months now. What they are saying is that the reason that it happened literally on Saturday, the actual ultimate reason is that the CIA found out that Khamenei was going to be physically present at this meeting with all the rest of the top council here. That is the actual reason that the CIA got the intelligence. They've said that also publicly. It's all publicly available. So we now know that because of that, perhaps because Israel was saber-rattling about a possible last-minute strike there, that's why it happens literally this Saturday and not last Saturday, not next Saturday. But the fact that the two countries were going to go in together there, apparently that decision was made months ago. Again, that's all publicly available now. Wall Street Journal, New York Times, they've all been reporting that the two countries have been planning this thing for months. The only debate is why it happened.
He acts like they can keep to any plan they make. Like the plan was to release the Epstein files too, till he found out all his friends were in it. Like they don't stick to plans. The plan, what's that?
But Josh,
literally right now, because the CIA found out Khamenei would be there, Piers.
Fine. I'm not disputing that there may have been conversations going on for months about whether to do this. I'm simply saying that Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, could not have been clearer in his public statements 48 hours ago when he was asked about this, that the reason for America and the attack on Iran was because they had information that Iran was going to get attacked by somebody else that we presume to be Israel, and therefore this would then imperil potentially American interests coming back the other way from Iran. And he couldn't have been clearer. I mean, what they're expecting us to do, and what you're expecting me to do, is to listen to Marco Rubio's own words on camera and pretend he said the complete opposite. He couldn't have been clearer. And then they've done a complete screeching U-turn because they realize it looks ridiculous for the United States of America.
No, Nick, I don't think you understand. They did the Juman trick. You didn't hear what you heard. They always do it.
America to have a position of saying we had a preemptive need to do this, but actually it turns out the preemptive need was Israel attacking Iran.
I'm shocked that this is so difficult for some people to grasp, apparently including you, Pierre.
Really hard.
This was planned for months. It was literally planned for months.
So why didn't they say
that it happened... it seems to me that Rubio slightly misspoke, and he had to clarify himself yesterday.
You think?
Again, it's been. I'm not defending every single line that was said there, but the president of the United States could not possibly have been clearer there. This has been planned for months. What Rubio is saying is that the actual reason happened on Saturday. Seems to me, if I'm trying to kind of put all these strands together, it seems to me that the reason it started on Saturday was a combination, one, of possible Israeli intelligence about a strike there. They want to go be preemptive, combined with the fact that the CIA apparently.
So if it's just about timing, right? If that's that's his argument here, that it was just he was just saying that that's the reason they did it at that time. That would mean that they were going to do it anyway, right? That was the plan. They're attacking Iran no matter what. So what's the point of even doing the diplomatic bullshit with your real estate agent? Like, why even pretend? You're just going to do it anyway.
It was CIA, not Mossad. The CIA found out that Khamenei would be at this meeting. Those are the two things, it seems, that made this operation start this past Saturday, not 2 Saturdays ago, not 2 Saturdays from now.
Okay.
But the fact that this is going to happen, apparently that decision was made months and months and months ago.
Then all they had to do was say, we were in this with Israel from the start, we planned it together, and we went in together. It's very straightforward positioning, and we both felt that there was a need to launch a preemptive joint attack because we believed that we were both going to be under attack from Iran. They didn't say that. Let me bring in Peter.
He is right about this, though. It has been being planned before they even knew a motive for pretending like that's why we're doing it. That's why he took so much time trying to shop ideas, because they just were desperate for a reason to go invade Iran for Israel. So they knew, he is right, they did know months ago they were going to do this. They were going to bend the American people over and go to war that we don't want because Israel wants it. So they knew.
Why not? I try and be fair and dispassionate, Peter, about all these things. I like to judge people on what comes out of their mouths, and I'm afraid Marco Rubio is damned by what came out of his mouth. He is one of the most powerful men in America right now. I actually think he's been one of Trump's better performers, actually, in his role as Secretary of State. But you cannot watch those two clips and not conclude he said one thing, then pretended he said something completely different.
Right, but I think it's worth distinguishing two things. I think it may well be that the United States attacked when it did because it thought Israel was about to attack. But it still begs the question of why the United States didn't stop Israel from attacking. Israel has wanted, particularly Benjamin Netanyahu, has wanted America to go into war against Iran for a very, very long time. I think the other critical ingredient here, the thing that changed was not Israel wanting to be in a war against Iran. It was Donald Trump's mounting hubris as after the Venezuela operation. I think what's happened is that Donald Trump, after attacking in his first term Soleimani and not getting a significant Iranian response, and then the 12-day war last year, and now the attack on Venezuela, Trump now sees military action as a political winner for him, right? Something that makes him look good. And I don't think he's smart enough to recognize that he's now bitten off something which is fundamentally different than what he does in Venezuela. He even said yesterday, according to the New York Times, that they want to do in Iran, what they did in Venezuela. So I think the critical shifting aspect is not Israel. It's Trump's growing hubris about what American military action can produce.
Well, I'll come to Cenk now for the bigger picture question, which I didn't ask you the first time, which is if I'm Donald Trump and I'm trying to explain why I think there's a consistency to what I'm doing here. Trump doesn't believe in putting boots on the ground so far. He believes in surgically decapitating things and people, right? He believes in going in and taking out individuals or having very short attacks on nuclear capability or whatever it may be. In Venezuela, classic Trump, no boots on the ground, middle of a night attack, special forces snatching Maduro and his wife, get them out, no American dead. This is what he does. This is what he's always done. And he distinguishes in his head between that and putting big boots on the ground for a ground invasion. And there is clearly a qualitative difference. In Venezuela, he's taken a bet that if you get rid of Maduro, that the regime may stay in place, but they've now had the ultimate warning, you play by our rules or you're going to be next. And it puts them back in a box that can be controlled or not as threatening to the United States' interests.
It's a fair point. He thought he could scare Iran, and Iran said, "We're not scared of you, bitch," and that's why we have a war now. If they were Venezuela, yeah, they'd have just bent over and let him take the president. That'd be the end of it. They're not. Iran is not Venezuela, and people should have told him that. And he shouldn't be so stupid to think stupid things like that.
I think he's thinking the same thing can happen in Iran, where it's highly unlikely that he's going to get any kind of revolution of the kind that he talks about. I think it's far more likely and achievable because of the sheer power of the United States military, that what could happen is you could have the regime remaining in place, but severely neutered to a degree that it has no ability to progress with its nuclear program, and actually has no ability to represent much of a threat to the United States or Israel or anybody else. And it may be that that is what their actual game plan is here, without putting boots on the ground, and that may end up being successful. I don't know. None of us know, right? But if it was successful, it would at least have the benefit of being consistent with Trump's overall philosophy that you don't need to commit thousands of troops on the ground to effect regime control.
Yeah, this is all nonsense. Look, could Trump's hubris be a part of it? Of course he has hubris. Does he want to dip in and out of war? Yeah, I guess he does. But why does he want to go into war in the first place? That's the central question. Because he ran on anti-war. He ran on America first. Right now, we're not doing anything about grocery prices. Oil prices are going higher. The economy's slipping into a disaster, both higher inflation and higher unemployment. But he's obsessed with complying with Israel's demands. So Josh said something hilarious about how Marco Rubio misspoke. Well, Tom Cotton said the same thing. He's a senator, and Mike Johnson's the Speaker of the House, so he said the same thing. Caroline Leavitt, the White House spokesperson, said the same thing. So they all misspoke? No, they had their stated reason, which was Israel was not going to listen to us because they're the boss of us, and they were going to go bomb and endanger our troops. So we had to scurry and catch up to Israel and do as they command. So now you mentioned in the beginning, Piers, it turns out it's not a Cenk Uygur conspiracy theory, it's real. But think about the framing.
You never ask if you can interrupt. The answer is always no. Just shut up.
Of conspiracy theories that our national media talks about. So I say, for example, and these are all verifiable facts, and they agree, these are facts, 94% of Congress gets money from the Israeli lobby. The number one lifetime donor to Donald Trump is Israeli lobby, $337 million. Number one lifetime donor to Biden is Israeli lobby, Mike Johnson, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, etc. Hold on, let me finish. So now the New York Times and others look at that and go, it is a conspiracy that billions of dollars given to scummy politicians would affect them. I think that's the conspiracy theory is that it wouldn't affect them. Of course it affects them.
But Chunk, our elected officials are above petty things like greed, right?
Israel has bought our government. Hold on. Israel has bought our government lock, stock, and barrel. And did they do something else as well, with this Operation Epstein's Fury? In terms of getting blackmail on people? Yes, it's entirely possible because Epstein in every interaction was trying to help Israel, procured cyber weapons for Israel.
Okay.
So we have an enormous Israeli lobbying operation in America.
Pierce, can I jump in?
Our politicians.
Yeah, let me bring Matt. Okay, let me bring. Okay,
to say that they are
Cenk,
not
you've had a good say.
when they obviously
That's
are.
right. Yeah, we
are sick of Israeli control. They have driven Trump into every war. Every war.
I get it. And
it's
I get it.
Go
honestly,
ahead,
we're
go
almost
ahead, deny it when it's
all right.
obvious.
But I'm going to come to Matt. I'm going to come to Matt to respond. What I would say, Cenk, is you are in danger of getting to the stage where if there is inclement weather in America, you instinctively blame Israel. And I do think you've got to be slightly careful.
No,
you don't just sound like
Israel.
They do have those space lasers.
What part of 94% do you not understand, Piers?
Beat that enough there.
Let me bring in like they almost control all of Congress. Yes, because they literally donated to 94% of Congress.
Let me bring
wake up,
let me bring in
wake up, America.
Let me bring
Israel
in
runs all our politics.
Other people speak.
Go ahead, lie.
Let me go.
Please don't talk.
Cenk,
the other people. I don't want to mute you, Cenk. So let Matt Schlapp respond.
Right. So I do think Israel is in charge of your brain. But the fact is AIPAC and these other lobbies, it's true. They were very powerful in Washington, D.C. for a long period of time. And I do believe that you could argue that they were one of the most effective lobbies 25 years ago. Over time, I will just tell you, someone who's been in this town, their effectiveness.
Yeah, 25 years ago, they were the problem. Now, no problem. We're in war with Iran right now, but no problem.
From them and others has deteriorated. It's deteriorated to the point that even in Republican and conservative circles, we all have been watching this debate, this acrimony from people who are,
It's like he can't see that we're in a war right now for them, but there were a problem back then, but we took care of it. No problem now. Judah mind tricks. That's what these are. Judah mind tricks. I just came up with that.
Leading voices in the conservative movement about wanting to rejigger the priorities in the Middle East and step away from Israel. So the idea that somehow politicians are bought and paid for by an Israeli lobby and somehow that's preventing people from having heterodox views is absurd. We're watching this all happen in real time. The reason why Donald Trump acted is not because Jared Kushner's Jewish or because some real estate guys who are Jewish gave him money. The reason why, or Bibi Netanyahu forced him to act, these are conspiracy theories, or I don't even know where you're going with Jeffrey Epstein. The reason he acted is because several presidents in a row have looked at the prospects of taking aggressive steps in Iran because Iran chants death to America on a regular basis. The leading sponsor.
Man, they really fucking hate that phrase. Like that really gets at these Zionist shitheads. It bothers them to hear them saying that while their family's dead from the bombs we dropped on them. I don't care what they say. We've done enough to them. I think we're winning this. If that's all they're doing is saying that, and we're actually doing that, I think we're ahead in the game.
Of terrorism around the globe, including towards Americans. And we can go through the dozens and dozens examples of the outrageous behavior that moderate Arab states also know is a massive danger. That's the story that doesn't get told here. Most moderate Arab states, despite what they say publicly, are all for defanging Iran. And Donald Trump did this because he thought it was in the interest of the American people, not because he's playing games with polls or politics, but because He believed as the commander-in-chief, this was the right time to act.
His programming glitch.
Act in our interest as Americans.
Okay, just hold fire.
He just
panel
said
for
that
a
it was
moment.
conspiratorial.
I think that the problem, if I can,
hang on,
the problem
please.
with
Hang on, please. I'm just going to ask the
There's a scrum to get after him after that stupid statement.
panel. If I could ask the panel just to have some patience, just for 5 minutes.
You'll all get to dunk on him eventually. Just sit tight.
Joining me now is the IDF spokesman,
Gotta fast forward a
Nadav
little bit.
Shoshani. Welcome to you, Mr. Shoshani. Look, I don't know how much of that you may have been listening to, but there is a narrative that many people are promoting that this has all been done at Israel's behest. It was a narrative that Marco Rubio.
Thanks for having me, Pierce.
Let's go back to the panel. Let me bring in Josh Hammer there. I mean, it just seems to me that, I've got a lot of military in my family. My brother was a British Army colonel. My brother-in-law was a British Army colonel, and so on. The rule one of when you start a war is you've got to know what victory looks like for everyone's sake, for the armed forces that take part in it, for the people of the countries that you're at war with, and so on. And yet it seems here no one seems to be quite sure. Is the goal regime change? If so, how does that get achieved without boots on the ground? Most experts think that's completely impossible with a country the size of Iran. If it's not regime change, is it a damaged regime which stays in power, a bit like we've seen with, say, Venezuela? Where's the victory here? When does this war end because victory has been achieved? And what does that victory look like?
So, Piers, I can speak for what I believe is America's national interest in this war and what I think Donald Trump's end goals. Right. I obviously can't speak for a different country. I think that Nadav just spoke quite well from his country's perspective. From a U.S. perspective, I think that Pete Hegseth and General Kane, I hear Cenk Uygur doing the whole anti-Semitic thing. Okay, very, very predictable. So says Khamenei's chief.
Notice how everything's anti-Semitic. Just saying, oh, you're American? That's anti-Semitic. Okay.
Yeah.
Notice how whenever they devalue it like that, it just makes it to where everybody's like, fuck it, I'll be one too then, whatever. Like, I'm not going to live by your little rules that you make for me. I'm not learning anyone's gender, and I'm not going to learn all the things that are anti-Semitic. Fuck both of those sides.
All right, can I just jump in? Yeah. Of course, Josh Hammer is an American. I profoundly disagree with Josh Hammer's political views, but he's an American Jew. He's not an Israeli. We should be clear about these. No,
I mean, when you've lost Peter Beinar, you have seriously lost the debate. I would.
I think we have to be careful. We have to be careful about this.
No, Peter. Yeah, this has nothing to do with Jewish Americans. No, it has to do with scum,
Zionist Americans
who represent Israel and are loyal to Israel. And by the way, it's not at all just Jewish Americans. It's actually mostly Christians like Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz and Trump and Biden and Kamala Harris, who serve Israel like dogs.
All right, Khamenei's stenographer and apologist has some words to say here. Let's get back to Pierce's question. Okay, so America's interest, Pierce, as defined by Pete Hegseth and Dan.
By saying he's brave to stand up to Israel, that's an apologist. He called him an awful person, an awful leader, but he was brave to stand up to Israel, and that means he's an apologist. That's how they rewrite history. Judah Mondrix.
At their Pentagon press conferences for the past few days is, as I understand it, as follows. At minimum, the severe crippling of the Iranian regime, the severe decapitation of their ballistic missile programs, preventing them from acquiring intercontinental ballistic missiles that can reach Western Europe and perhaps the East Coast of the United States, finally delivering a fatal blow to their nuclear program. There has not been a clear articulation as to whether or not the goal here is to see the entire mullahs, the entire IRGC, all of that to be ended. In fact, if I'm being very candid with you, I think that there is actually a real world where a year from now, I think that it actually could look like what you suggested could look like. This could look like a Delcy Rodriguez, post-Chavez, post-Maduro type situation in Venezuela. I do think it's also possible, to be clear, that the exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi could be called back in to lead some sort of transition period. That could be a civil war. I don't really know, frankly. I don't think that any.
Yeah, they're just going to let you put in some guy that America has cultivated for the last 50 years.
One knows exactly what it's going to look like. But the goal here is to deliver a severe crippling to this most despotic and tyrannical regimes, and at minimum, if nothing else, to give the non-clerical, the non-theocratic, non-Islamo-fascist elements within the country of Iran, of which there are many. That's the majority of the country here. Tens and tens of millions of people that have been slaughtered by the horrific regime that Cenk Uygur is infamously now calling courageous there. It's to give them a fighting chance to take back their country. That is the goal here. Whether or not
so they can do there what they did in Gaza. Look, it's a beautiful parking lot now. As soon as they get all the rubble out of the way, they'll have a lot of adequate parking in Gaza. So that's what they want to do to Iran. How are you not letting them defend themselves?
It will all work out. Who knows? You could be just dealing with a severely crippled IRGC, a less radical mullah that is a more restrained second, third-rate power in the region there. That's entirely possible. But for now, I think it's going staggeringly well, and we should definitely applaud all of our efforts.
I mean, Peter Beinhardt, it seems to me that notwithstanding the confusion about the mission statements that have been made by the Americans and Israelis, that it seems to me a gigantically stupid strategic error by the Iranians to start attacking all the other Gulf states. All they seem to have done by doing that is, rather than, as they've tried to do in recent years, put up a wedge between Saudi Arabia and Israel, for example, by what they did in
this video is about 2 months old, so I don't know if Pierce, I'm not really sure if he knew that they shut the Gulf of Hormuz down and that they crippled the world economy. I don't know if he knows that yet, so I'm not sure.
Helping Hamas commit the atrocities of October the 7th. What they hoped by doing that, one of the aspirations clearly was to stop Saudi Arabia joining the Abraham Accords. But here, by attacking sites in Saudi Arabia, in Qatar, in Dubai, what they've done is galvanize these Gulf states now against Iran
and against America for not protecting them. They were really pissed off that Israel gets all this protection and their bases get blown up. So you don't protect your allies. That's what they were trying to show. And I think it showed it really well that our only priority is Israel. That's all that matters over there.
And ironically, on the side of America and Israel, I would say it's now far more likely that Saudi Arabia will end up joining the Abraham Accords than it was.
And it's far less likely that they're going to let those bases come back, because you didn't protect us last time. Why would we let you come back and rebuild?
Last week.
Yeah, it may well be a strategic mistake for Iran to do that, but I'm not Iranian. I'm an American. I get on the subway every day in New York, and I see people who our government isn't giving the basic decencies of life, a home, enough food. And then I think, is it a good use of my government's money to be spending billions and billions of dollars to attack a country that, with an absolutely odious regime that poses no threat to the United States? I mean, come on, let's be real, right? Iran doesn't have a single nuclear weapon. The United States has thousands of nuclear weapons. You know how much more? The United States probably spends as much on its military in a day as Iran spends in a year. Right? You think you can go to the American people who can see that this country has desperate need. We don't give our people health care. We have a deteriorating infrastructure. People are suffering, and say this is the best use of our money. Beyond that, I just want to say, because I would like you, Pierce, if you could, to get one of the parents of those 175 children who were killed in that school that the United States or Israel bombed in southern Iran,
well,
and
yeah, hang on,
people
okay,
who support this war to say to them that this was worth it.
Peter, let me stop you there. Because we've been through all this in Gaza. And I've learned to be patient about these things, because we don't actually know for a fact yet what happened with that school. It was clearly an appalling incident. Clearly, many, many young girls were killed in that school. Clearly, the school used to be, until recently, part of the Revolutionary Guard base there.
It was near, yes.
But several years.
Do you think they were going to blow up if we didn't invade? Like, I think it's pretty easy to see who's at fault here. Like, if we didn't invade, those little girls would be going to, a prom someday, or whatever they have over there.
Years ago, it got separated and has been a separate entity. Now, there are various things that could have happened here. It could have been struck mistakenly by an Israeli or American missile, of course. It could also be, as some people have suggested, it could have been an attempt by the Revolutionary Guard to stop a missile coming in that has gone horribly wrong.
And it's still America's fault. There would be no missile coming in for them to try and stop if we weren't attacking them for Israel. What is this?
Can I respond to that? Can I respond to that? Yeah,
well,
let me just respond.
Let me just for viewers who are not up to speed.
Yes,
and have
but
seen
Pierce, the point is,
hang on, Peter. Hang on. Let me finish my point, please. The reason it's important is well, it's important to know the facts, right? It's a bit like when the 3 American fighter jets were taken down. The initial reporting was all over the place about that, and I preferred to wait. And now it turns out it was friendly fire from a Kuwaiti pilot.
Who cares? They would not have blown up if we didn't send missiles over there, right? So either way, it's kind of our fault regardless. Like they were not going to die if we didn't go and invade for Israel. So it's on us. It's our bad thing.
Who mistook them for Iranians. So I just think we need to get to facts before you
I know, Pierce. I understand
that this
what
was
you're
definitely
saying.
an Israeli missile.
Pierce, even if it was an Iranian missile that was fired in response to the attack from Israel and the United States, right? Even if it was an Iranian missile, those girls would still be alive today if the United States and Israel had not launched the attack. So you are right. We don't know who launched the missile, but we know that if the U.S. and Israel had not attacked a country that poses no serious threat to them, Israel has hundreds of nuclear weapons, America has thousands, that those girls would be alive.
Okay, but I would also say to that it is indisputable that it is indisputable to me.
Oh no, alive in a burqa. So it's better to be blown up. That's this retard on the end's argument that they would be in a burqa though.
Hang on, Matt, please. Hang on, please. Let me finish my point. Matt, let me just make the point. You're probably going to make the same point, which is if you're Israel, you have had 40.
The logical conclusion to his little argument there is that we just go blow up everyone in a burqa then, because it's better than wearing a burqa. Do them do them a favor. They want it. That's what they're talking about. They want it. They want this liberation with bombs so that they don't have to wear burqas.
47 years of this regime in Iran wedded to your destruction, to the extent that Iran has absolutely, indisputably sponsored Hamas, the Houthis, Hezbollah in a concerted effort to take out Israel. So regardless of what you think of Israel, that is indisputable. They've also, by the way, continually...
Can I just jump in?
Well, it is.
Do you know that Israel sold Iran weapons in the 1980s under the Ayatollah Khomeini? I want to stop there for a second. In fact, some of the weapons that Hezbollah has used against Israeli forces, Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper has reported, were likely sold to Iran by Israel, not under the Shah, under Ayatollah
I think there is probably shocking hypocrisy on arms sales from all countries.
Because the point is
Peter, just answer my point. Do you dispute that Iran has been very instrumental in funding terror groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis against Israel? Would you dispute that?
Absolutely, they have funded those groups against Israel, but it doesn't mean
And why is that our issue? Well, how is that against America? I don't care what they do to Israel, and I don't care what Israel does to them. I want out of it. I don't care.
Agreement.
But it doesn't mean they pose an existential threat. Iran also endorsed the Arab Peace Initiative in 2002, in which it said it would recognize Israel's existence if Israel allowed a Palestinian state in the West Bank and Gaza, and there was an agreement on refugee return. Yes, Iran, for its own cynical reasons, uses the Palestinian cause and others to try to gain influence in the Middle East. That is not the same as saying it's an existential threat to a country that has nuclear weapons on submarines, has a massive nuclear deterrent, and is massively more powerful than them. And the point I was making about the 1980s, and then I'll stop, is the reason Israel wasn't afraid of Iran in the 1980s, in fact, sold them weapons, was at that point they saw Iraq as the greater threat. It was only when Iraq became weaker that they turned to saying Iran is the existential threat. And mark my words, if Iran is destroyed by this war, we will have people like our guests here.
It'll be Turkey next, right? Because they're an ally. So they're going to have to do a little work to turn everybody against Turkey. You know, they got Lebanon already. So Turkey will be next. Turkey's the existential threat. We've got to go after Turkey.
Coming on a year from now and saying it's Turkey and Turkey needs to be attacked, because there will always be some country that's willing to support the Palestinian cause, maybe for their own reasons, and Israel will declare that country an existential threat, whether it is or not.
Recep Tayyip Erdogan.
Well, I don't look, Cenk. Let me bring in Matt, then Cenk. Let me bring in Matt first because you wanted to get in there. I know, Matt, your chance.
I just feel like it's hypocritical to say that these attacks harmed women and children when those women and children, the young girls that you reference, would live a life in a barbaric, unequal society behind a burqa with no ability.
So murder them for feminism. There we go. Now we get to it. I'm glad it's coming from the Zionism side because I've been trying to tell y'all the Zionists are the one that brought us all feminism. They're the ones responsible.
You make career choices. The human rights in Iran is nothing you should use as the focal point. No, that's not what I'm saying either. And I will admit from my point of view
that is what you're saying.
All of this is controversial. Pierce started off by saying, isn't it controversial that Donald Trump is doing this? And I think I need to be honest from my point of view. It is. It's controversial.
So it's not controversial.
There are a lot of
to kill
MAGA America First people who are surprised.
So they were going to be covered up in a burqa, in your opinion. So it's not controversial to murder them.
The question to this is, if I could, I'll summarize quickly. But the answer to this is there's a tremendous amount of trust, Pierce, towards Donald Trump's judgment on these things. And really nobody who's a serious mind in politics believes that.
Who trusts a fucking politician? I don't trust any politician. I'm loosely trusting Thomas Massey if he runs, but still he's a human. You can't trust any politician. Once they start doing shit you disagree with and that they said they wouldn't, they're done. They're done.
That Donald Trump was blackmailed or leveraged or led by the nose into this decision. He made this decision because he thought it was in the long-term best interest of the American people. And there is a chance that his decision-making around the strikes in Iran will result in a better situation, not just in Iran for the people of Iran who are long suffering, but for the region. And if that ends up happening, I actually think politically it'd be a very positive thing.
In what universe does this war in Iran benefit America? In what way? How? Let's hear it. Let's hear it. You can't just say he's doing this because it's going to benefit America. How?
Okay, Cenk, final word to you.
You said about Iraq, right? Yeah.
Look, they're not comparable, but if we go down the road of Iraq, I will agree.
Hey, Matt,
political disaster.
You were wrong about Iraq because you serve Israel. You're wrong about Iran because you serve Israel. So let's get to the reality.
Cenk Uygur.
Okay?
I serve
God. That part is funny. That part is funny.
Disgusting slop.
So I thought it was my turn to talk.
You can talk, but you can't make false libelous charges.
You can talk, but you can't.
Yeah.
Libelous. Like we could just hear your words. Y'all are on the tank for fucking Israel, obviously.
Yeah. I got
People
it.
can be wrong without serving Israel.
You already yapped for it. Don't worry, you'll get the check. So for example, I'd say that Josh is Israel first. Yeah, sure, I know.
You are
maybe
clinically retarded. Dude.
Anyway,
what is wrong with you?
So Josh, I say Josh is Israel first.
Good argument. You're retarded.
And then you guys flip out over it. Then you pan to one shot of Josh, and there's his book with Israel in the title. Israel. Everybody said Israel.
I have clerked for a federal appeals judge. I have spoken at Yale Law School, Harvard Law School, published content.
Israel.
Literally put my hand on the Bible.
It's right behind you,
taken
dude.
my oath.
It's right behind you.
I have been a citizen of one country and one country.
Why don't you write a book about America?
It is a. Actually, if you've read my damn book,
why did you write a book about how America has?
No one should read his damn book.
Books are actually about America. The book is about the Bible and Western civilization. No, if you were less of a retard, you understand that actually
these guys are obvious frauds.
Israel refers actually to the children of Israel, to the biblical inheritance, something that you don't know a damn thing about because you serve.
Right, so we got to go fight this war because the Bible says so. The Bible says go kill children in Iran. I read that. It's like Romans 3:9 or something. Whatever.
The Bible says we have to serve Netanyahu.
Well, you know what?
This garbage propaganda our whole lives.
You know what? Let me jump in. Well, let me jump in because actually I'm going to make a statement, not a question, which is actually, Cenk, of all my guests in the last 3 years on Uncensored, probably the one who's mentioned the word Israel the most is you.
Shocker.
Because.
Good job.
Okay, so can I explain why? So, guys.
Very quickly. You've got 1 minute to explain why.
Okay, Peter and I keep arguing, hey, we should take care of the American people, our health care, our wages, etc. Everybody else is saying, had this giant conversation about Israel's interests. And then I say, hey, look, obviously, guys, they've given billions to our politicians, so we're ignoring the elephant in the room. Yes, the conspiracy theory is that the national media says that our politicians are so moral, so decent, that they're not affected by the billions of dollars that the Israeli lobby has given them. That is a wild, outrageous conspiracy theory. So number one, we have no interest in this war. We already destroyed their nuclear facilities. Their ballistic missiles cannot reach us. So when we talk about their ballistic missiles, we're all admitting this is a war for Israel. Israel cares about their ballistic missiles.
They can reach
They reach
We had
Israel.
no problems with their ballistic missiles until we attacked them. And then this outrageous thing of like, can you believe Iran has attacked the countries that has attacked it? Of course. When you launch a war against a country, what did you think they were going to do?
Has Cenk heard about the hostage crisis in Tehran? Has he heard about the Beirut barracks bomb in 1993? Does he know anything about the history of Iranian jihad against the United States there? A regime that was founded upon the seizure of the U.S. embassy in Tehran. It was literally founded upon
every time I start talking, some Israeli puppet comes in and goes, I was talking about the 6 Americans dead and how so many more Americans are going to die for Israel because our scum politicians have taken, and no one disputes this, billions of dollars from the Israeli lobby.
Okay.
That is why they serve Israel. And this story
has a long way. This story has a long way to go.
Yes, Joe Biden is corrupt. Donald Trump is corrupt. They've taken tens and hundreds of millions of dollars from the Israeli lobby.
Okay.
Don't dispute
I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it there for the sake of your blood vessels, Cenk. I appreciate you all joining me. Thank you very much.
All right. For all of y'all who've stuck around this long, I've got a very special surprise. We're just going to do like 10 to 15 minutes of this interview. I didn't watch it, but I did watch like the beginning of it, like the first couple minutes, just to make sure it was going to be funny enough. So let's get into it and watch Jillian Michaels. I know y'all put up with a lot of chunky yogurt today, and I'm not a big fan of chunky yogurt most of the time, except when he's making sense about Israel. I turn off all his feminism bullshit and all his woke shit, but he is right about Israel, so I do try and put him on the channel. But Jillian Michaels is a buffoon. So let's look at Jillian for a little bit and have some fun just before the show's over. Oh, wait. Oh, the wrong button. Cancel. I am not good at this. Hold on. There we go. And where do I go? I'm just going to start this one from the beginning. We're not doing the whole thing, so don't get scared. We're going to be here a couple minutes.
Best-selling author, the host of Keeping It Real podcast, Jillian Michaels. Jillian, thank you so much for being here. I mean, I followed your journey for the longest time, obviously through your fitness journey, and you being a mother. I'm a mother. And then
just count the time she fake laughs. It drives me nuts.
I started to see you transform, speaking out, using your voice in the political realm. And I've loved your evolution. You built your career on fitness, but what made you decide, you know what, I'm going to step into this political arena?
Well, okay. So health essentially became a political football. It really is that simple. And things that should be absolutely nonpartisan became partisan, which is insane. And in some cases, things that were historically left-leaning issues, right? Crunchy granola, health, organics, like raw milk, which was never I was never a person that was espousing raw milk. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I wasn't the anti-vaxxer. I wasn't that person, but those issues were traditionally left-leaning issues. And so all of a sudden, when you're starting to hear these crazy narratives about being healthy at any size, which is actually a civil rights thing from decades ago that was called health at any size. And it actually...
I'm going to jump forward a little bit. I kind of agree with her on the health shit. So let's get to the Israel stuff. I didn't watch this. I just watched the clip started much later than this. Let's try here.
Bonded over that, and I thought this is a really like young, intelligent Spitfire. So Cenk, I then invite onto my podcast after Trump gets elected, and this guy went to Wharton Business School. He's not dumb. And I thought, okay, come and tell me all the reasons you don't like Trump, you don't like Elon Musk, you don't like Doge. You'll talk to me, tell me, because I only see it from now, what is a right-wing bubble. And I try to get out of these echo chambers and gain some perspective because I know how dangerous that can be. And he shows up and we have a very honest conversation. And I really appreciated that. That meant a lot to me because you cannot get liberals to show up. You just can't. You cannot get them. I got one other, Kara Swisher. She told me that I was like a bad person and anti-trans the entire time, I was just so grateful she showed up. I was like, that's fine. You can be told you can hate on me the entire time. At least you showed up for the conversation.
Right. It's the same talking points, by the way, all the time. They just they hate you. They name call. But anyway, so go on. Okay.
So Patrick Bet-David comes to me and he's like, listen, I'm thinking of doing a version of The View over here, but I want more diversified perspectives. He'd wanted Sage Steele, but she wasn't available. And he put together this list of people, and he hired Lindy, he hired Amy, and he had wanted Sharon Osbourne, and she fell out, and I
fell in.
I got Anna. No, I had the job. I got Anna the job.
Oh.
And she took it from you.
Dude.
You got Anna the job on the Hurt Team? Okay, this is getting okay. Go on. Okay,
and I fought with PBD over it because he's like, I don't know, and I literally I have the text messages and the emails, and I was like, no, you need her. You need like a strong. She went to journalism school. Like you can't just have opinions. We need journalists here. Like it's one thing for me to be a host for you, but I gotta have actual journalists. And he was very invested in Lindy Lee because she's on Connect, which is a big platform, and she does very well on it. And she's a very intelligent girl. I don't agree with her on a lot of things, but she cannot question the fact that Lindy is she's very intelligent, and her knowledge of history is impressive. So I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense for the panel. And I liked the fact that her and Anna had differing points of view because I thought, well, this will be interesting. We can hear from sort of both of them and get a diverse perspective. Amy, I didn't really quite understand, but she was a value team and employee, and I was like, all right, whatever. Like who cares? If this is who PBD wants, that's fine. So as time went on, I started to watch this transformation with Anna, and everything was anti-Semitic, everything. And there were these crazy statements where she would suggest on the podcast that the Jews were responsible for 9/11. And then I'm getting all these videos sent to me.
I believe she said Israel. I think she said Israel was like involved or had prior knowledge. I don't think she said the Jews. I know she didn't, as a matter of fact.
Of her saying, my God, what was the one where she's like, you think you're God's chosen people, but you're really demons? And like all of these insane, and like the bulging eyes, the spit, the beet red face. And I'm thinking like, all right, I'm not comfortable being associated with this. I don't want to platform this narrative. And we'd had very honest conversations about her criticisms of the Israeli government. I don't know enough. And that was a huge problem for me because
and for the viewer.
I thought if you're going to do this, we need a Coleman Hughes, a Dave Rubin, a Batya Ungar Sargon, a Gad Sad, to provide perspective, because when you say things like they're starving these children, well, then you listen to someone like Coleman or Dave Rubin, they're like, that's not actually true. That's propaganda. I don't have the ability to answer that. I can't.
So she needed to bring a man on the show so that they can like fact check for her, because that's too much work.
Can't defend it. So there were plenty of conversations like that, by the way, where I would just kind of sit there thinking like, is this true? And then I would call somebody afterwards and be like, did this happen? Because this is really distressing. And it was like, well, part of this, that this didn't happen. Anyway, long story short, I started to be very vocal about the fact that I thought that this kind of vitriol belonged on the Young Turks platform. And every single show started to be about bashing Israel. So the one that actually never made it out because Charlie Kirk had been assassinated was one we did with Crystal Ball.
Okay.
And that one was, oh my God. So at the end of it, at the end of that show, I had suggested, like, this is going to hurt a lot of people. Like, we cannot, this is not responsible anymore. We don't have a balanced perspective, and we got to rein this in. Cut to, it's the next week. So Charlie has just been assassinated, and the rumor starts circulating that it's Israel again. And I'm just like,
Here we go.
Dave Smith says it's not Israel.
Here we go. Let's just knock it out of our head so we can't even think about it. So if it is true, we just never will believe it. So let's just put Israel in a spot where there are no chance that could have happened. There's no possibility in your mind. And that way, whenever you find out it did, you'll just ignore it.
Israel. Nick Fuentes, who is probably the greatest anti-Semite at the moment, said it's not Israel. Tucker Carlson.
She is literally calling an appeal to authority on anti-Semitism. Like, you're a real anti-Semite, so if you say no, it can't be yes. That is bad argumentation in any way. Like that's not a thing. That's a fallacy.
Although I guess he did make the hummus comment, but even like the greatest Israel haters, critics had said it's not Israel, right? There's no evidence to suggest it's Israel. Max Blumenthal in the gray zone, who was trying to implicate Israel, is known to have taken a ton of money from Iran and Russia.
He was just there.
Does that make him wrong? Does that make what he said wrong? No, it doesn't make him wrong at all. So what's your point?
Everybody knows.
Notice how it's not bad whenever our entire Congress takes shit tons of money from Israel. But if you take like a donation from Qatar, now you're what you say doesn't matter.
That they're completely compromised.
Yeah.
And so I respond to the group. I'm like, this is not responsible. This isn't true.
Yeah.
And they just.
Did you hear any facts following that statement of fact right there? That this isn't true? Did you hear a single statement of fact other than fallacies? I didn't.
Buried this man yesterday. I think it was his pastor has asked people not to do this, not to have these conversations. It's disrespectful.
And so did his wife. So just stop talking about it. Yeah, fuck you. Fuck you. Somebody's been murdered. We're not taking anyone's requests on how we investigate. It doesn't fucking matter. I don't care what anyone thinks until we know what really happened. Then we'll fucking have a little compassion after that. But that's not how investigations work. Like I have seen it. I was a police officer for 15 years. That is not how investigations work. You are a suspect until cleared.
So the answer back is, yeah, we know it's not true, but everybody's talking about it. So, we should. And I said, if you guys do this, I'm going to be really aggressive about the fact that this is not true. And they're like, no, we're going to present it that way. Don't worry. So of course we get out there and all three of them actually accept Anna. That's what's so crazy. Amy and Lindy tried to actually make the case that it was Israel. Lindy's trying to give credibility to Max Blumenthal, which I was shit. Because Lindy, by the way, behind the scenes is messaging me being like, Anna's losing it. Anna, this is crazy. We got to calm this down. So when Lindy all of a sudden tried to make that case,
they started to bring up the fact that Charlie had changed his stance in recent days and even made a statement that he thinks Israel is going to kill him over it. So that's what they were bringing up. And she got her laptop and ran off set. That's what happened. I reviewed it like last week sometime. Oh, shit.
Lindy, by the way, behind the scenes is messaging me being like, Anna's losing it. Anna, this is crazy. We got to calm this down. So when Lindy all of a sudden tried to make that case, I was so pissed because I'm thinking, you've been asking me to get a grip of this situation. And here we are. You're now trying to make the case.
Wow.
How dare you bring up evidence? We're trying to clear Israel. We're not trying to bring up things that make them look bad. That's how apologists think.
Amy is then like, well, Candace. I'm like, what is your evidence, Amy? And she's like, Candace Owens. And
okay, yeah.
I know. Oh, God. What is happening?
I know.
What is happening? And then Anna.
Notice how every time she tries to make a point, there's fake laughter.
Anna, to her credit, goes, yeah, no, it's not true. There's no evidence. However, and then launches into another attack on Israel and Netanyahu. And it was just because. There was nothing, nothing relevant about what we were. And at that moment, I just was like, I can't do that. I can't be a part of this.
Right. If you can't refute all the shit they're saying about your favorite country, you just grab your laptop and run away.
This is wrong. It's just,
That's why women don't deserve as much pay as men. Because they run away with their laptop whenever they get beat.
Not okay. You're going to get people killed. Like, you can't do this. This is insane. I just watched a video. I'll give you an example for anybody who thinks this is hyperbole. I just watched a video of a guy, maybe you've seen this actually, on college campuses trying to raise money from students. And his pitch to them is that we have to go after the Jews where they live because they've grown out of control. And he's like, we've got missiles and suicide bombs. He's like, but we need bullets and we need handguns and we want to hit them, at the temple, the school bus, the community center. And these kids are giving, they're like, I'll give you $10. I will send you the video to insert it if you want. I will send it to you. I actually bookmarked it.
Wow.
And I thought, like, this is.
And I thought there's no way this could be Israeli propaganda video right here. There's no way that anyone could be doing something that there's not expressly what you're seeing in the video, right? There's no way. She believes every false flag and every psyop, I'll bet you.
What's happening is people truly believe that Israel is the root of all evil. And again,
I have a buddy who told me he saw a video where they pulled out the Muslim children's coloring books and it's all just blowing people up. It's all just killing America and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, I don't even think they have coloring books over there. I don't know. I'd have to look into that. They don't do any kind of research. They just see it, believe it, and move on. Right? That's how false flags are so dangerous. That's why we have to be aware and always looking for false flags, because you never know when one's coming.
I am certainly not an expert on this subject matter. However, every time I follow one of these leads, like, wow, AIPAC gave all of this money, and you're like, okay, well, how much money was it? Oh, it's a couple $2 billion. Like, well, that's bad. I certainly don't want them influencing our government. Then you come to find out that Qatar gave $23 billion and Saudi Arabia gave $100 billion, right. And the UAE gave $32 billion. And then it just, every time I follow.
Do any of those places get the entirety of our Congress to go take like group pictures in their bingo halls? No. Israel has control. None of them are getting us to fight their wars for them, are they? Which one did Qatar get us to go to war? I didn't see it. My news feed must be messed up.
Layer of outrage. Somebody else is doing it at an exponentially greater rate.
Right. And you just had Megyn Kelly come out and she's talking about something that has totally been debunked about $7,000 for every post and foreign influence. I'm like, okay, Megyn, if we're going to talk about foreign influence here, let's talk about the Qataris. Let's talk about CCP. Tucker Carlson.
She needs them just for fact checks, nothing else.
And just came out with a video now. I mean, he's throwing a tantrum because, the mullahs have been taken out. He's accusing Chabad, which puts a target on Jews' backs. I want to say something. I want to thank you for having integrity. You keep saying, I don't know. You know enough as a human.
I wish they took that much care into other countries, like whenever they did everything. Like, they only care how things influence Israel. That's the only thing that matters. Do you ever think of how it influences Iran when you kill their children? They're all in an all-girls school? Nah, they don't matter.
Human being, like, this isn't right. This is hypocrisy, okay? Obviously, Israel is to blame for my toilet not working right now, okay? Israel is to blame for, it's like literally Israel is to blame.
I'll give you an example.
Another fake laugh. What is she laughing at?
Of what I don't know, what I mean by I don't know.
No.
So somebody will come to me and say,
Jillian is the reason I gave up on trying to find a woman, because this is what they get like whenever they get that age, and that's the age I would date at. I'd rather go through this alone.
Listen, the New York Times printed that Netanyahu and the IDF knew about October.
I thought you were talking about Jillian's breath when I first started reading.
Or 7th, and they let it happen so they could go in. Now, if that happened, and it's in the New York Times, that's obviously deeply upsetting. I don't know. What I do know is October 7th was deeply upsetting. What I do know is that you have a host of other foreign governments that are outspending Israel at an exceptional pace. What I do know is that you're furious about the blockade, but you're not furious about the fact that Egypt drowned Palestinians trying to escape in sewage in the tunnels. Why are you not mad about that? That's the part that I start to go, this is not an honest conversation. Because again, they're like, look what they did at the border. And you're like, well, why are you not mad about what Egypt did to them then?
I've got a solution for all this. How about we just get the fuck out of the Middle East and let them do whatever they want to do? How about that? And we just worry about keeping America safe. And then if they do bad things over there, well, that's just bad shit over there. Like, it doesn't really have anything to do with us, does it? We can't fix the world. We're not here to bring feminism to all the countries with sand in them.
Seen Egypt's border. It's the most fortified in the world. So ever since October 7th, I've spent literally the last couple of years debunking these stories.
I know.
So that's how like my social media went crazy, because nobody, people weren't really doing it. And so I was like, okay, so here's a narrative that's out. Here's the truth. And honestly, it was just so overwhelming, by the way. Like, it's exactly what's happening in Iran right now. But I want to quickly go back to Anna Kasparian. You have so much integrity. You're literally there and you're like, I'm out of here.
Assertion. Prove that.
I'm done. Why do you think that, she has this obsession with Islamists and now she's, doing this to Iranian women?
I know. Honestly, I don't know. I continue to watch like the video that she just did with Piers, because of course 10 different people sent it to me. And Piers is like, 30,000 Iranians have been killed. And she's like, you don't even know that's true. And he's like, well, it's kind of like widely accepted that that's the number. Oh, please, Piers. It's probably like 3,000. And I just thought, even if it's 30, but like, okay, Anna, you know that the regime is raping.
Can you imagine talking to someone like this when you're just like, hey, what do you want for dinner? Oh my God, I'll kill myself. I could not. There is no way I could have one of these in my house.
Murdering, torturing, slaughtering for decades. So, like, what are you doing? I don't know. And then you have Iranian women saying, shut up. You have no idea what you're talking about.
I think she's talking about the two clowns we just saw on the panel. That's the Iranian women she's talking about. Goldie and Elica. That's who she's talking about. She's counting them as Iranian women. One hasn't been in Iran in decades, and the other one isn't even Iranian, I don't think.
And
do you think that the women in Iran are wanting you to shut up so they keep dropping bombs? Is that what you think they want? Because feminism's so important to them? Okay.
Level of, I don't know if it's narcissism. I don't know if it's just a complete ideological capture.
Women love to call everything narcissistic. So I figured it would come to that.
I don't know if it's a paycheck. Part of me is starting to think a lot of this is a paycheck, because the problem is when you watch pundit.
She is trying to say that the anti-Israel side is the one getting the paychecks. That's nerve.
Like Tucker, for example, there are now numerous videos circulating of him saying one thing.
Have you heard about these tours that go to Turkey where they try and, brainwash you into thinking that they should rule the world? I've heard of Hasbara. There's even a name for it.
And then, flipping and saying the exact same thing. Like, there's a video of him saying, we've got to deal with Iran. Iran is a huge problem. Somebody needs to have the balls to deal with this properly. To now being like, Iran not a problem.
It's a totally different person.
It is a totally different person.
As I think about this bigger picture, you kind of, respected Anna. You brought her on the show to be on the Her Take. Do you believe that? You had some sort of friendship, right? Do you believe that she actually believes in what she's saying?
I do. And, I've talked with Dave Rubin.
I'm starting to believe that Jillian really believes it too, but that just means she's stupid.
About this, because he warned me. He's like, don't do it. So what had happened was Dave had asked me to do Actual Friends. And that's with Drew Pinsky and Sage Steele and Dave. And at the same time, PBD came to me and he's like, I want you to do Her Take. And I was like, Dave was like, you can do both. So I started to do both, and then PBD saw Actual Friends. He's like, Jillian, I'm spending a lot of money on this. Like, I'm flying you guys all out here. I'm doing all this stuff. This undermines me. Can you not do it? And I understood, because with Dave, we were just all kind of on. There wasn't a huge investment, and I love Dave, and I knew we'd be friends no matter what. So I spoke to Dave. He's like, listen, I understand, and the door's always open. You're always welcome to be a guest on my show, and vice versa. So
They like to steal children together.
Dave, though, was like, you're making a mistake on Anna Kasparian. And I was like, oh, come on, Dave. I'm like, I think it's just because the friendship fell apart. I'm like, why don't we all go to dinner? I'm such an idiot.
I can't put up with it anymore. I was trying to get through the whole thing. I can't put up with Jillian that long because the fake laughing disgusts me. It hurts me in my funny bone because I can't stand fake laughter. So I'm going to end this here. My co-host is back, so he's going to get to send y'all out today. Let me get this started. He's back. I will see y'all on Wednesday. And I got debate prep, so I went a little longer than I should have anyway. So I'm going to let my boy take you out. Peace. I will see y'all on... Oh, wait, let me get a thing first. Peace. I will see y'all on... There he is. I'll see y'all on Wednesday. Peace.